Good morning, campers. It's Friday. It's Midnight's Edge in the morning. How you doing, Andre?
I'm doing good. Another week is at an end, and we have some reasonably good news to talk about today. That doesn't often happen these days, but it happened today. So excited.
I'm not sure what this good news is, but we're about to find out. Joining us as well is Script Doctor. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well on this sunny day in my area, at least.
You jerk. You stole the sun. Right? It's all gray here. How's it you guys get it up there? That's bullshit. Anyway.
I haven't had it for months.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just picking on you. We're glad to have you here. And also joining us this morning is a YouTuber who we've had on before, but we're glad to have back, Adam Koralik. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Glad to have you here. Also joining us is Culture Casino. How are you doing?
Fantastic. It is a lovely Friday. Can't wait for the weekend.
Awesome sauce. Also joining us is Paul of Call Me Chato. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. I can do that too. Come down to Cayuga Raceway. We've got Teeny Tiny Tomo in the 400 horsepower funny car that's going to be ripping up the track all this weekend. So come on down to Cayuga Race.
Well done.
Yeah, you kind of beat my
Sunday.
Sunday. That's right.
I felt like I was there. It's awesome.
Yeah. That's great.
I used to listen to that all the time here.
Don't miss it.
There you go.
I love those days.
Me too.
Those are such fun days.
And we have pony rides for the kids.
Yes.
Well, welcome, Paul. How are you this morning? I'm glad to see you have had some coffee.
Yes, I have. I also think they had like the Miss Chevy Small Block contest all this weekend.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm fine. I'm things are humming along on the YouTube front. I think I'm less than 2,000 people to the 100,000 mark, and everybody's supporting me, and it feels good. I'm trying to cut down on the number of YouTube videos I'm doing, but something like things pop into my head, and I got to do them. So,
congratulations, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Say
Nice
it's
to
better
meet
than
you.
having the opposite problem. Yes, and Adam, meet Paul, and I think you've met just about everybody else here on the panel, but yes, I think Paul's the only one you haven't, maybe.
Hi, Paul.
And Adam is eating Skittles.
I'm barfing them, actually.
He's barfing the rainbow. You know,
But thank you.
It's not a Skittles rainbow, though.
It's
this
just
rainbow. He's spitting knowledge, see?
Hopefully.
Now, what would have happened to Sylvester Stallone's career if instead of Rambo, it was Rainbow?
Honestly, I kind of envision a movie where he's like hunting unicorns and stuff. That would be fun. That would be fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Actually, if that was the case, it'd be like, he came into a small southern town, and he taught them all how to dress. It's Rainbow. Oh my God, that uniform has to go.
And we would still be remembering him for the Italian Stallion and
We would.
for the Rainbow movie.
That's true. Nope.
Yes,
things
that'd
are
be a
good
much
over here.
different film. Yes. But let's see what the audience has to say this morning. We've got well over 500 people joining us so far. Please hit that like button. Send out the link so people know that we're live. In fact, I'm going to do that myself right now because
hash brown and send it off to the internet or whatever
Yes.
it was. So,
Andre's
please
been watching
smash
some
that
Cobra
like
Kai,
out
it sounds
there
like.
the stream. And all will be well. So let's see what you guys have to say in the audience. We have quite a few people watching here. We have Little Lucy watching. We have Dr. Long Dongler watching. Mr. Tickle Trunk is here. Mecha J is here. And Aura Honeydew is here. I like that name. And many, many more. We also got a couple of super chats. Final Smash 1689 says for $5. A Hogwarts Legacy TV show is a no-brainer. Even a generic high school drama set in Hogwarts would be a hit. Call it Saved by the Spell and make money.
Oh, Saved by the Spell. I like that. No, this sounds like a logically where they're probably going to go. I could see them bringing a lot of the cast back, grown up, teaching a new generation makes sense. Probably
just calling it Hogwarts is fine. That's all you need.
Yeah, you can call it Hogwarts or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's get into that right away, since that was the first super chat. Yeah. Because this is a story that comes to us from Giant Freaking Robot. And now I know what many of you want to say. You're like, well, then why are we even covering it? Because a Giant Freaking Robot, that is like a coin flip, basically. And
no, what they do is they copy other people's stories and then say they got it from a source, and then they make up a bunch of places where this source made up other things, and yeah.
Yeah, but in this particular case, we heard it from someone else before. I don't recall exactly which stream it was, but it was one stream where we had WDW Pro on, and he has been talking mightily about how Warner are looking into the Harry Potter IP, looking at different ways to mine it. And what he said, I don't want to put words into his mouth, but he said something to the effects of that something is going to come inspired by Hogwarts Legacy. That's practically a certainty. And this reporting then, wherever Giant Freaking Robot got it from, because sometimes they actually do get something right. It's been known to happen. So this, combined with what he said, this tells me there's absolutely some fire behind the smoke here, and I can well believe that a Hogwarts Legacy show is being developed for HBO Max.
Yep.
It would certainly make sense. Culture. Let's begin with you. What's your take on this? Do you think that there's any truth to the rumors of a Hogwarts Legacy show, and would you want there to be?
Well, no, I would speculate they're absolutely looking at this because they see a future here. They have something they can exploit, and it's something that CEO David Zaslav spoke specifically about in the latest quarterly call. So when you look at it that way, you see, wow, this is a most promising scenario because you can bank on what's being developed there in your game world. That's obviously tied into the Harry Potter properties, and it doesn't have to follow the same storyline as the books did. So there's so much room to maneuver here. They would be foolish if they weren't already in the, at least pre-production or any of the other stages that come in front of getting things done, like development, which is, usually what happens. Something gets placed in development first. So I would imagine they're working on this already. And they're already working on more stuff for this game, including a follow-up. So I feel like that's a safe bet. Let's just put it that way. They need money.
Yeah. Adam, you've been traveling for the past few months here, as those that saw you here for Christmas will know, and also, of course, the followers of your channel, which is linked to in the description, will know, because you have like two channels. You have your regular gaming channel, plus a travel channel, and you've been traveling a lot, so you may have missed out on much of the Hogwarts Legacy controversy. Let's just call it that. But I'm just going to say that the Streisand effect needs a new name now, because if there ever was an attempt at canceling something that fired or backfired, it was this. So how up to speed are you on Hogwarts Legacy, and how intrigued would you be for an HBO Max series about it?
Well, first, thank you for the shout-outs. Secondly, yes, you're right. I've been kind of out of the loop. But as soon as you said, this is the first time I'm even hearing that there would be a possible TV version of it, and I can completely see that boardroom meeting playing out in my head. It's such an easy slam dunk, and I look at it from the perspective of they're probably thinking in the same way that we've got all these reboots like a million times over, is that Harry Potter is kind of oddly poised, where the kids that Daniel Radcliffe and so on, they were about basically my age when they were making those movies initially, and that was who they were initially targeting, that audience. So now they're actually old enough to be parents, which is like the logical transition. You originally aimed this at kids. Now you can still aim it at kids, but you can age it, you can aim it to basically the millennials who are now themselves parents. So they're probably looking at it from that boardroom meeting of we can get two audiences at once. Now, that ultimately boils down to quality. But at the same time, I'm gonna be honest, I don't want this. I don't really care. Like, I like Harry Potter, I did, but that's one of those things where I kind of wanted to just let it be, kind of like Back to the Future. Just leave it alone. As for the game stuff, I know there was a lot of controversy around that, and I'm sure that we can point out that despite that controversy, maybe because of that controversy, that the game has performed exceedingly well. But I think it's worth noting that it has sold like 12 million copies at this point, and that's with it only existing on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X. What's interesting about that is that it still has not got a PS4, Xbox One, or especially a Nintendo Switch release. This game could continue to sell astronomically. So if nothing else, it does prove that there absolutely still is a base for Harry Potter content. And I absolutely in no way doubt that this sort of TV series would go forward. And I can see the whole thing in my head right now where we all go back and we watch it and we go, so the whole point of this show was just to bring down, kind of like Last Jedi style, just bring down the characters and everything they ever learned, and we have to deconstruct them. And like, does anybody not already see this show in their head?
Easy. Yeah, Saved by the Spell. That's
exactly that perfectly in 4 words says everything I just said.
Yeah, and I just want to say, imagine this thing here on the Nintendo Switch with the haptic emotion controllers there. That thing is going to be a beast. It's going to sell to every single owner. Chato, feel free to develop that further.
Well,
Saved by the Spell.
As an entrepreneur and as someone who's run several businesses, one of the things that you learn is that there's no crime in selling something to people that want it. And a product is not a bad thing. Entrepreneurism, capitalism, it's not a bad thing. What you're doing is fulfilling a need. And so if you've got a successful product line, it would be more of a crime to not fulfill the needs of customers who want more of that particular product. This is why what Disney has done to its different enterprises is really so sad, because there's still a market for people who want those things. Hogwarts in the right hands, done properly, is going to be an evergreen thing, and people, as long as you're able to mine it properly. If you take a look at the Japanese model, Toei is a wonderful Japanese company that created multiple Kamen Riders, anime-ish like live action Power Ranger like anime shows that were just all really wonderfully horrible. But every season they had a whole new line of weapons and toys and guns and armor that for no other reason than the audience wanted to buy that stuff. So if they take that attitude and make it a positive insofar as being able to feed the interests of the audience out there, especially the young ones, as was said, I think they've got a brilliant opportunity here. Just don't screw it up.
Can I throw a small monkey wrench into that, possibly? I agree with you completely, but the one difference there is that the American model for this type of thing typically is, let's value some measure of continuity, which is what kind of causes these problems to begin with. The Japanese model, things like Super Sentai and all that, the whole point is they basically completely detach from season to season, basically saying, like, everything that came before doesn't matter.
Right.
When the audience understands it doesn't matter, they no longer have these, I guess you can look at it as baggage from previous seasons that caused those problems. That's where I get concerned with stuff like this, because this is like the kind of thing where they're going to have to tie it back to the continuity everybody likes, but inevitably that will cause problems. Again, I point to the new Star Wars trilogy as that case and point. That makes sense?
Yep. And if they're doing a prequel, then it makes it worse, because all they have really available to them is whatever's been invented in the well-known Harry Potter line. They can't come up with something new and different, which is also something that always bothered me about Star Treks that apparently took place before TOS. Okay, how come that thing is actually better and different?
Oh, like Enterprise?
Yeah.
I mean, I already forgot the name. We already have Harry Potter prequels. What's that? The 3 movies.
Yes.
The Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts. And they kind of have to dance around events that are to come. That's kind of the problem when you have an established like set of narrative events. Again, I think Star Wars before Disney, and think this, before those prequels and possible sequels here. You have a fixed timeline, and it becomes really difficult to kind of make content around it because you're married to it, even though you don't really benefit from it necessarily all the time. Hence, the Japanese model works for what you're describing, which is if you're just going to sell toys and things like that, it's great to break free from it. And I say this as someone who absolutely loves continuity and when stuff holds together. The problem is if you're not good at writing that, then it just makes everybody mad.
Well, I see a lot of room here, though, because, again, I mean, there's stuff that was brought, like, mentioned inside the films and the books that haven't really been fleshed out, like Durmstrang and some other houses and schools of wizardry that, haven't been out there in the world yet. There's a lot of room to write. I understand somebody being reticent to write something new, as a prequel or whatever. But I think there's a lot of room there. And then I think sequels can be done rather easily as well, because then you just have to recall properly.
Considering nobody went to see the last one, I don't think that they can probably ban them from canon and nobody will notice.
Yeah,
exactly. That's a problem solved because there are not going to be any more of them.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts was a real problem. I mean, for a lot of various reasons, and each one of the films made less money progressively. But if you look at
it could have been so good. I mean,
sure.
Oh man, they just blow that.
Well, I mean, and again, venture outside of what is already established. There are many other beasts we haven't been introduced to yet. So it's not. Again, there was opportunity everywhere for that as well. But I see a lot of room for the prequel stuff. Clearly, the game is kind of a framework to do it around, and the rules have already been established. As long as you fit within the rules, you can establish a continuity that will fit into what comes.
Well,
later.
what's the beauty of it is that they have school rules, and Beasts actually, if they had done it right, there's other parallels that you can have.
Yeah.
Whereas there's lots of stories that they read about at Hogwarts, but that kind of magic is not allowed in the school.
Right.
So you can make up any shit that you want, and the school can just say, no, we don't, yes, that's what Thomas Riddle did, but that's shit. Is that you can't do that at school?
Yeah, why did the rule exist? Tell the story that resulted in the rule coming into play. That's always fun. That's how you can circumvent certain aspects of the prequel problem.
I think you could write a story just over the School of Magic that Aurors are a part of. I think you could, like, the first Auror.
Oh yeah.
And be able to talk about how that came into being and why, and it would, what inspired that to happen. And I mean, there's so much stuff that has
the Aurors are a kind of people don't really like them. They scare people. Like they're kind of like the X-Men of Hogwarts, and they could be outcasts. Like the Mentats, and not the Mentats, but on Babylon 5. Who is it that
the Techno Mages?
No, the damn it!
Mentats. I'm like, dude, wait, we're going
the telepaths. Then
the telepaths.
Yeah,
they weren't the Techno Mages. Is that what you called them? The Techno Mages?
No. Techno Mages was a one and done in an episode.
No. The telepaths.
Yeah.
In Babylon 5, they were all. No one trusted them.
Yeah, they formed themselves into a psyops, so that's
right.
Right.
So I mean, that could be this. Yeah, you're right. There's just so much that you can do out that informs the Harry Potter series.
Yeah. As opposed to what George did with Star Wars or any of the other things. And of course, you suggest that, it's weird, some of the stuff they did with Star Trek didn't work. But I like I said, there is a lot of room for the Harry Potter stuff. And again, you have an established location you can always return to that is beloved by all of the fans.
Well, I'm not go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Tom.
No. Go ahead.
All I was going to say was that So kind of, I guess Star Wars is kind of a good thing to compare it to, because you can definitely have additional stories in Harry Potter. I'm not disputing that. It's more about, will they actually do them correctly and not, do stupid shenanigans behind the scene, but also, will they consider that marketable? So to look directly to compare it to Star Wars, they kind of did what they thought the audience wanted, say with Rise of Skywalker, like, oh, nobody knows who this villain is, let's put in the Palpatine because he's more marketable, that type of move, which is dumb for continuity, but they do it anyway. Or do you tell kind of an interesting side story that truly does kind of expand on things, but nobody cares, say kind of like Andor, which I think there's mixed feelings over here, but Andor kind of expanded on the universe around it, but Andor, it wasn't real. The Star Wars, exactly. Nobody watched it, but it did. It was, I think, it was well crafted in the sense that it kind of expanded within the universe of Star Wars, but it was not marketable for that reason, because you attached it to a character that nobody really remembered from a movie that people didn't really like. At least that's the starting point. So I guess I'm worried that while you can make very good additional content in the Harry Potter universe, do they do that, or do they just be like, no, this has to be Harry Potter's son, and it just sticks to him playing Quidditch and stuff like that?
Well, you have a risk with doing legacy stuff in that regards, because now it's dependent on the pre-established stuff, when the best way to expand a franchise is to introduce new characters that can stand on their own without robbing the original characters of their own agency. Like, you could do the parallel between the original series of Star Trek and the Next Generation crew. The Next Generation crew is in no way dependent on the original Star Trek series in order to become successful. But they did their own thing. They definitely had their own Strange New Worlds exploration and allegories and stuff, but they became their own thing on their own as their own characters. They didn't need Kirk to be on 5 or 6 missions with them to shepherd them on their way, and they also didn't need to castrate Kirk in the process in order to make themselves stand apart.
You mean like they did in Strange New Worlds?
Yes.
So, I mean, I completely agree with you from a narrative standpoint. You can write it that way. The question is, will they? That's really, I'm just playing devil's advocate about that.
Well, the will they is a fair question, but I mean, the default model is to not do it that way.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's the default. The question is, will the people who are in charge of those franchises, the shepherds, if you will they stick to the default, or will they try to do the thing that we have already seen a few times fail dramatically?
Fail.
Yeah, Paul wants it to fail so he can cross that $100,000 subscriber barrier.
Yeah, so I can keep writing mean stuff that everybody's accusing me of writing. You're just writing mean stuff on purpose, just for the algorithm.
I was gonna say, like, I could care less about this Harry Potter stuff. I am not even remotely into it. Not the kind of Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. It was a little after my time. I was already an adult, and my kid was, I don't know if he was just too young at the time it initially came out, that he has never really been into it either. That is just never something that's ever come across in my household. But as I said months ago, when they get DC in order, the next thing in line for Zaslav is Harry Potter, and obviously the next thing after that is Lord of the Rings, and we're seeing that. But with Harry Potter, I'm not surprised. I can see him trying to probably get somebody to shepherd this thing going forward. I believe they'll want to hit it on multiple fronts. They've already talked about adapting that play into a 2-part movie, and that may set up and spin off everything from here. Like, obviously it makes sense to bring as many of the original cast members back as adults, and passing the torch on to a new generation. Doesn't necessarily have to be blood relation, like Script was saying. You don't want to box yourself in, but all you have to do is just like have like a good portion of those kids come back to be teachers at the school. You have kids, new crop of kids that are coming up, and new problems and new bad guys, and it's real easy to expand on this universe. And I think the success of the game is a great launching pad for that.
I think so too.
I think they just need to have the cast fill out a form with one checkbox. Are you going to crap on J.K. Rowling after the project is finished? Yes, no.
Yeah.
That determines if you work or not.
That's correct. That determines whether you get the job or not.
Yeah. I mean, the kid that played Neville Longbottom, could you imagine a thing that was based around him?
It's a great story. The parents and what he went through. Yeah. I mean, that's There's some good stuff in there.
I know.
And I think actually J.K. wrote the screenplay of the last one or two Fantastic Beasts.
I don't know if she did or not.
I don't know about that.
Maybe. I don't know if she has much. Yeah, because she didn't even write that play. But I'm sure she'll have a lot to do with what's going forward. I don't know if she'll necessarily be the shepherd, but
put it this way, from a Warner's perspective, what a terrible situation to have that IP available to you. Ow. Oh no.
That's true.
And then then we're also saddled with that other loser, Lord of the Rings. Oh my God. What are we gonna do?
That's what I'm thinking, is that Zaslav has looked at these two properties and going, why have they not done more with them?
Yeah, that's what I
mean,
would
the Fantastic Beasts is one thing, but it's like you have opportunities galore with these properties, especially Lord of the Rings and other one, and Harry Potter. I get it. Like, I'm not a Harry Potter fan. That was the whole point I was getting into, but I see the possibilities with it. Makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. So he's saying the right things. Warner is making the right noises, and people are loving it. And it's scaring everybody else to death. Universal's going to love it for their park.
The only ones who won't love it are Disney. Because now, not only do they have to worry about Super Mario coming to kick their ass in a month here, now they're going to have to worry about Harry Potter killing their parks as well.
And they've been suffering mass damage from Disney's been really unhappy with what's been happening to Warner Brothers. And they, the fact that, they're also damaged, obviously, by Universal at the theme park level, because they have the license to all that. And they're expanding upon that in Florida specifically, with building out the Ministry of Magic as part of the new theme park development they're doing there, Epic Universe. So I have a sense that Disney would be unhappy with more Harry Potter out there in the world to support the.
Well, Disney could put in an Andor ride that takes 9 hours to get through. Well, sometimes nothing happens.
Well, that's just the line.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Wow. Wow.
But it's probably still more exciting than the Galactic Star Cruiser. So
I don't know. The line could start at the back of the Galactic Star Cruiser, and you get a tour of every room there, all 100.
Yeah. Well, but still, this is amazing news for both Warner and for Universal. Then Warner, because they're gonna earn so much more money from their Harry Potter IP, which is already started now with the Hogwarts Legacy game, already a killer hit.
Yeah.
Universal profits by way of the parks.
Yep.
And they can also look forward to Super Mario coming out here in a month. So good times all around.
It's all about proper execution. And if we could just keep executing properly, you will have an audience.
And you know how you do that? You don't, overburden your script with a lot of ideology garbage. Just tell a story for a change.
That would be a good start. And with that, let's gradually transition towards what happens when you overladen your script with a bunch of message garbage by looking at what's going on at the box office now. But before we do that,
I was going to say we've got some
let's
super
grab
chats.
a few more of these super chats, and everyone smash that like. We have more than 1,200 watching right now, but we don't have as many likes. So do smash that like, help share that we're live, and all of that.
If you guys send enough super chats, maybe, just maybe, Andre will let me get a Japanese toilet.
Oh, with one of those little sprays.
Dude, have you ever actually sat on one of those? They feel, because they're always warm, they feel like you just got on there after a big fat sweaty guy was sitting there like a minute earlier. I don't like them at all.
I guess I'm the only one who saw the new South Park. So anyway.
No, I got the reference, but
I have always enjoyed those. There's a lot of liberty there, freedom. It's pretty cool. But hey,
the bidet is nice. The bidet is nice.
See that as the description on the box when you buy it. Feels like a big sweaty guy was sitting on this before you got on it.
That is not a good marketing campaign. That's not.
Tom,
You're
are
not
you sure you want
write your
this?
monthly.
I didn't know I was going to start this, but yes, I do want one of these toilets. Satan's testicle, says the incompetent Alex Kurtzman. Says this is very much a cancellation of STD. Strange New Worlds is gone in September, so animated shows will air before STD season 4, or actually I think it means season 5. And they were saying recently there was no end in plan for Star Trek Discovery. Looking forward to 60th canon reset. Okay,
Hold
so
that thought.
Break all that down. We will get into it soon,
and we're going to get back to the Star Trek discussion. But just you hold that thought, Satan's testicle. I think you'll like the discussion that's coming up here.
It's a fun question.
And we got Final Smash. Go ahead.
Yeah, Final Smash 1689 again has a question for Script Doctor for $5. If you could choose to read either a Godzilla movie or a Kong movie, which would you pick, and what would be your take?
Ooh, probably Godzilla movie because there you can have some fun with the big battles and the survival of the innocent people below. There's more lore that I'm familiar with on Godzilla than Kong, so that's probably where I would go. Yeah.
Oh no, they say he's got to go.
I got that reference.
Oh no,
I
don't know. Kong's fun too, though. Yeah.
All I can think of is that big black rubber thing you put cheese in to occupy your dog.
the Kong toys, or
the Kong toys.
Yeah. Then we've got Satan's testicle again, who says, we got this one.
It's the same one.
Yep. Psychotic says, any STD end that doesn't involve a backyard and a shotgun won't work for me. It should be treated the way the creatives treated us, contempt and dismay. Well, I see what you're saying. They're never going to do this, Psychotics, for many, 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 many reasons. But this is kind of the closest you're going to get to it, like at this point. As I said, we're going to get into that real shortly here. So, yeah. But anybody want to comment on the last super chat?
Yeah, well, basically, I agree that as compelling as it would be to take the concept of Star Trek Discovery, certainly the way it was executed, take it behind the wall and get rid of it the way one used to do in Eastern Germany. That's not the way one does it in Hollywood.
Yeah. Callum Lyle's in the house. How you doing, Callum? Says, apparently I'm a bigot. Well, welcome to the club. For making fun of Nemours' cuckoo name and for saying Peter Pansexual is the non-binary token kids. Yeah, you know, that's like a Thursday for me. So so I get where you're coming from, Callum. Callum says, and the fat woman from Rings of Power blocked me for calling her out on those other Karens that said we were all we will wear badges. What kind of badges? We don't need no stinking badges.
We don't need no stinking badges.
It's a good reference.
Badgers.
Maybe she means badgers.
We don't need no stinking badgers.
By largish woman, was he referencing the dwarf?
I can only imagine so. I haven't followed.
Yes, that'd be the Hobbit, or the dwarf character. Yeah,
sorry, I meant dwarf. Was very, very clear about how much she was changing the world with her presence.
Yet she was possibly my favorite character.
I agree.
Which was hilarious about the whole thing, right? Because they were almost like ready to have to defend her when it's like, well, wait a minute, she's everybody's favorite character. Shit.
Yeah, she's actually putting some energy in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did not see that happening.
But yeah, let's get through a few more of these super chats. Hillis Mallory says, Thursday box office update. Cocaine Bear over Ant-Man 3 to take number one spot. Snicker. Actually, I think it has been all week. Has it not, Culture? I think been barely beating Ant-Man all week. I think every time I've looked at it.
Technically,
it beat it yesterday.
Yeah, technically it didn't actually beat it till yesterday. It would, but they were running neck and neck. So at least domestically, the film is doing pretty well. I mean, we're looking at a total right now of about 34 million, probably 35 million all in at this point. and it's still in what 700-800 theaters less than.
Is it opening wider this weekend? I know Creed is taking over a bunch of the IMAXs, but all
the premium large format screens, not all of them, but the majority of them are going to go to Creed now.
Because it's funny, because I keep hearing people talk about Cocaine Bear and Jesus Revolution fighting out over the top spot, but I don't hear too many people mentioning Creed 3.
Yeah, Creed 3 is going to have a pretty decent swing at things. I mean, it had a great opening. I know we'll probably talk about that later, but its preview numbers are really good. It's better than the previous two films.
Actually, let's get into it right away, because the box office was next on the agenda anyway.
Yeah.
So Cultured, take us through it. What's going on at the box office, and how's it looking for the weekend?
Well, Creed 3 looks like it's going to dominate this weekend. That doesn't surprise anybody. It opened in previews to 5.45 million already here domestically. Wow. So it's bigger than the previous two films have opened. It's probably going to make Ant-Man very embarrassed this weekend, I would imagine. There's a decent chance that Cocaine Bear and Jesus Revolution could displace Ant-Man, in the top, out of the top three, which would be really strange. You could get some resurgence, but as far as the premium format screens go, Creed 3 is going to take over the majority of those. So,
don't you mean Kang 3?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, you know what? I'm gonna be what I normally am, and that is the Debbie Downer here, and I'm gonna say, look, I think people are making, again, they're MGM, and people are making a bigger deal out of this Creed preview and opening than it really is, just like Marvel and stuff. Because let's be real, look at it with inflation. This movie is not going to make any more than the last two. This franchise has had no upward swing or momentum to it. Well, the last one made 3 point whatever it was million in its preview weekend, and that was 2018. Right. So with inflation, this 5.45 million is nothing to brag about.
That's true. 20% difference in ticket prices on top of inflation.
And sure, the movie may be good, and I'll be honest with you, I have a little bias against it. I want to see it fail. Why? Because they what they did to Sylvester Stallone, plain and simple.
Well, we're looking at the 4-day forecast for this is probably on point at about $43 million through, the domestic weekend. That's probably about where this will finish. So at least that's close. There's way too high of an expectation for Ant-Man and Wasp. They anticipate that's going to do about 14 million this weekend. I don't think that's going to be there. The new Demon Slayer film is actually projected at 10.8 million, which is weird. And then a Cocaine Bear would be about 10.3. And that'll bring it up over $40 million, which that would be wonderful for that film. I mean, it's on its way to profitability, just even in the domestic markets. So, but there's other films releasing this weekend on top of obviously Jesus Revolution. You've got Operation Fortune, which I'm going to go see. That's the new Guy Ritchie film with Jason Statham. And that's going to open. They think that'll open to about 4 million, but a lot of these films are hamstrung by the fact that they aren't in as many theaters. I think that's going to be the deciding factor for a lot of these competitors, is that there's not enough screens, which is a weird thing to say, that they're featuring this tentpole film. And so, I mean, you've got Ant-Man hanging on to 3,800 screens. Why? You've got Creed on over 4,000, again taking over the premium format.
The Ant-Man thing's got to be contractual at this point, because I cannot see why any of these theaters would want to hang it over in that many screens when nobody's going to see it.
Yeah, and I think the number around Creed, I don't know. Again, they're projecting that $43 million number, and I'm not looking at these numbers in this Deadline article, but I think it'll do better than they're saying Ant-Man is going to do 16 to 19 million. I don't know in whose dreams, but they're high. I mean, the numbers
I was going to say,
yeah, the closer numbers are going to be the ones that Box Office Pro dropped just a day or two ago. That's probably more likely. And I feel like you said, I mean, every one of these other films are kind of also rans at this point. And the fact that you're still seeing money from Puss in Boots, the Last Wish, is amazing to me in theaters, because it's on streaming right now. So why people are going to see it in theaters is bonkers. But it's had the lowest drop every single weekend of that you could imagine. I mean, it's only fallen off 27% or projected to fall off 27% this weekend from last. So that's
yeah,
crazy.
it'll be interesting to see how many new theaters Cocaine Bear gets, if any, too. So
yeah, yeah, Cocaine Bear is going to be still in over 2,000 theaters. So I think it'll.
So it's actually losing some theaters.
No, hang on, 3,500. It's going to be in 3,500 theaters.
So it ain't going to be gaining much then, though.
No, it's picking up. I mean, it's
like
making
200, I think.
Yeah, and it's making up a gap between Ant-Man and Wasp. I mean, the difference in theaters will only be about 300 at that point. So you're looking at 5 to 6 per day showings in each theater. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Maybe a difference of like 1,800 showings in total. Hard to say. But it like I said, the weekend does look like it's going to belong to Creed. And I think that Cocaine Bear will surpass the earnings for Ant-Man and Wasp. I think the problem is that, and this may be why Disney has been blocking people for covering a certain thing that they released recently, a certain trailer they released.
Peter
recently.
Pan sexual and Wendy Sue.
I don't even want to talk about that. But I really don't want to talk about that. But that particular thing is showing that people like all of us and all of our channels, specifically Paul Chato, because 100,000 viewers and all that. They're having an effect. I mean, people are, awake to the fact that these films are not very good and they're chock full of, anti-Western messaging or neo-Marxist messaging is what I call it. And that's not good. Your films are suffering under the weight of ideology and not benefiting from the, any storytelling that they're doing. So, yeah. But
Andre, what other things did you want to cover as far as box office goes?
Yeah, no, I just think that the thing to really point out here is exactly what you said, Culture, that the neo-Marxist messaging, which we also saw in Ant-Man Quantumania, it's not doing any wonders. And the lead purveyors of pushing it at this point are Disney.
Yep.
I mean, they are the ones really, really pushing it. And I think that is the reason why this weekend Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is going to get pummeled by not just Creed Part 3 with a Kang variant, but also by Cocaine Bear. So it's going to sink down to the third spot over.
I think so too.
Yeah, and that's embarrassing for a Marvel movie. This shouldn't be happening. No, it doesn't have to continue to be a number one. But that it's going to go down to the third spot behind Cocaine Bear at this point in its release cycle, that's bad. And if that
it's probably the fourth.
Well,
it'll probably be the fourth spot.
Yeah, that's even worse if that Bible movie beats it as well.
Well, and
it's
again,
gonna.
Well, but think about this. I mean, even if it's not the Bible movie, what if it's the Dragon Slayer Crunchyroll film, right? What if that beats it? The animated series.
Yeah, there is that coming out this weekend too, and those usually take a nice chunk.
They do. That thing's it's going to do pretty well. It's going to do probably about 10 million. So you look at that and you go, what if? It's not. And again, we're only 3 weeks into Ant-Man. This is the third weekend. This thing should be still clicking along.
What's the worldwide box office gross for Ant-Man at this point in time?
Right now, the worldwide box office gross for Ant-Man is 368,304,895.
In other words, it's where it should have been after the opening weekend by rights.
Yeah.
This movie is going to fail to live up to the last two, as I've said. And this is going to be, and this is why I've said that this is something that they really should have started to take note with Black Panther.
Yeah.
And now it's obvious. This does not bode well for Guardians now. In fact, I've had to bring down my expectations on that one.
I agree.
I'll be surprised if that manages to muster up 800 million at this point. The only thing that's going to help it is if it's really good and word of mouth helps it, really.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
The future of Marvel films at the box offices does look quite dismal. I mean, going forward, and if everything that's being reported is accurately being reported, they have nothing outside of Guardians of the Galaxy that looks promising. And that film, as Tom just suggested, and many others, has a decent chance of not getting anywhere close to $1 billion, which is a huge problem.
Deadpool.
Yeah, that's the next thing, but that's a year and a half in the future.
And how much damage can Iger do to that between now and then?
Yeah, everything else between now and then is just going to do more brand damage and sink it completely. And by that point, how much interest is there going to be in Deadpool after the Marvel brand has been?
The beauty of Deadpool is that it was already a separate entity of sorts, so I don't think a lot of people will realize that it's being made by the Marvel folks.
The problem is there's nobody. I'm going to use the word. There's nobody hip at Marvel.
Oh, wow.
They're just not having fun. So if I was running Marvel, I would actually, the next movie I would want is a Domino movie, and that fat guy who survived in the Deadpool movie, the guy who came down in the parachute.
Yeah, I don't know that he lasted that long, but yeah, that'd be something. Adam, how excited are you for the future of Marvel now after Quantumania? Did you get to see Quantumania yet, or are you done with it already?
I did not see it, and I forgot it even came out. Which should tell you a lot, because I used to be all about the MCU, drink the Kool-Aid. I wanted to see everything that came up. Obviously, a lot of the most recent phase has really just degraded my interest. And I think we talked about this last time. I was like, okay, I'm still watching it somewhat begrudgingly. Then I started seeing all the She-Hulk memes, and I was like, I don't know if I care about this. And I really haven't pursued it much since. Ant-Man, admittedly, I kind of wanted to see because, I enjoyed the character and everything. I actually liked the previous movies, and every single review of any kind that I saw was just like, oh, this is a Kang movie and it sucks. And so I haven't seen it yet, so it's not fair of me to judge it, but I don't think I've heard anybody actually positively praise it. Is that about fair?
The best thing I've heard anyone say, and I've been one of the kindest reviewers, and like the best thing I could say is like at times it wasn't that bad, at other times it was.
Hey, I paid it a compliment. I said it was in focus.
Yeah. No, you paid 2 compliments to it.
That's true. That's true.
The first compliment was that it was in focus. The other compliment was, at the very least, the director did not run up to you and take a dump on your chest right there in the screening.
That's true.
and my compliment was that the popcorn was not too salty.
There you go.
So yeah, as you can hear, Adam, that's the MCU has fallen somewhat from its previous heights.
Oh, that I know. I could, even if I wasn't paying attention to the box offices even a little bit, getting usually that kind of news, frankly, from you guys, just independently watching it and just being like, this is just getting really bad. I don't know if I told you this story once, but before, but I was on a flight once from the US to Europe, and I saw this woman getting all bundled up, getting ready to sleep. And then she puts on the Eternals, and I looked at her and she just kind of looked back at me. She's like, I watched this when I want to sleep. And I was like, that tells you everything you need to know about this phase.
Yeah.
This real, that happened. And I was like, wow, okay. And I hadn't seen it yet. Then I watched it. I'm like, now I get it. I understand completely.
Phase 4 will help you get your Z's.
Yeah, the phase 4 is the ASMR phase.
Phase snore, phase bore. There's all.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, and I have a better name for phase 5, I think, other than phase dive, as many have been saying. But what they're really doing is it's phase nose dive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Or barely alive.
No, that'll be a phase 7 or 8. But yeah. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's still people going to go see Guardians and stuff like that.
Well, phase 6 can be phase sick and dying. So, yeah, it already is dead though. That's the problem. It's dead. It's dead, Jim, as they say.
Let me, with that understanding, can we practically ask the question how long we think they will actually continue it? Like phase 5 is inevitable. Things are already in motion, I'm assuming, but like, is there an end point where they just go, and that was the last one technically, where it just kind of dies with a whimper?
The X-Men reboot flops.
Okay. Or do you actually think there's any hope of reversing this? Like, if you did an X-Men Days of Future Past like story that says, oh, everything in phase 4 didn't happen, and we could kind of retroactively pretend it didn't and just go forward? Is there saving it? Can you save it through the narrative? Do you save it by just having an executive publicly say, hey, everything in phase 4 didn't happen? Or is it actually dead? Are we really just seeing it die?
That's a really good question. Script, we haven't heard from you in a while. What say you? Could you X-Men Days of Future Past, the MCU, back to where it was good and continue from there and bring the audience back again?
Well, you don't even need to do a time travel thing. You've got the multiverse. So just tell us a story into a multiverse where the characters are good and people will accept it. And if you want to have fun, still retain your quote-unquote Marvel humor, you can bring in the bad versions of those characters to argue and bicker with the good versions of those characters, and then just push them aside and be like, okay, so phase 4 was us taking a peek at this other part of the multiverse and how it doesn't succeed, but this is the real one that we're back on track now, because we don't know, with all the time travel stuff that they did in Endgame, which universe did the Avengers end up in, because they made it very specific that if you leave your own universe, you cannot come back. You're going to another dimension. There's no way to return to the one you left. They're under the principles of their very own rules. So they're not in. Since that moment, we have not been seeing the core multiverse, the core universe that we started with.
I don't like, this is comic book shit.
Yeah.
Why can't they just go, okay, the all these phases, this is the Jack Kirby phase. Now we're just going to dive into the Neil Adams phase. And just don't care. The only thing that needs to be kept are the attributes of our superhero. That's all that needs to be kept.
I know this is weird because we've agreed 2 times in the last week here.
What?
Or at least 2 shows. But I've said it before. We don't.
Who cares?
I mean, call it a soft reboot or whatever you want to call it.
But it's the Jack
just
Kirby
keep
series.
James Bonding. No, you don't have to connect it. Is my point.
No. I'm just saying that
recasting the characters. You don't have to fucking. Who cares? Start over. Move on. We don't need reorigins, but just
won't care.
Yeah.
My point is
with
that
to come in to play Tony Stark, they'll be happy with that.
Yeah. But give another actor the Tony Stark role. Absolutely. I'll take
That's what I'm saying. It's James Bond, this shit, right? Fucking who cares? Move on. I don't need, Ironheart or any other fucking character. And I know part of that has to do with, they're losing the rights to some of these characters or might lose the rights to some of these characters or have to pay for the rights to some of these characters or however it ends up working out in court over the Lees and Ditko families and all that business. But point is like I said before, who cares? Move on. Just move on. You don't even have to acknowledge the other shit anymore.
Well, the Ironheart thing isn't a parallel because Ironheart is taking over the attributes of Tony Stark without being Tony Stark, whereas you pour in a new actor that is Tony Stark or claims to be, then they just pick up all the history that you want of Tony Stark. I mean, that's
what I mean by James Bonding it. You pick and choose what you want to acknowledge, or whatever you don't, you just keep moving on.
You add a different queue. There's a different queue every few years.
Batman kind of already did that, and people accepted it for the most part. They didn't really question too much when Val Kilmer took over or when George Clooney took over. People just were fine with it, just kept moving forward. And that's what I'm saying.
But we've been doing that in the comics forever. I mean, the Black Knight, the one where he plays a 50-year-old Batman.
Legends of the Dark Knight or the Dark Knight Returns. Sorry, yeah.
And so that was kind of a side mission, right? Who cares? Just do it. Make it fun. This is what I'm talking about. Hipness. Just have people who want to have fun and get it and say, okay, now we're going to be doing the anime Batman. Or I just saw the horrible Batman Ninja, which I thought started out okay. I told Script Doctor, and he says, "Oh yeah, it'll turn to crap," and he was right. But the thing is, it was a neat idea. Why not? And people are being way too precious with these properties.
Culture, what say you?
I appreciate what Paul said. I think
I'm actually more with the script side here. I do like the idea of retroactively saying that all of Phase 4 that was in a different universe. Now, here comes the real Avengers from the MCU proper that we followed in phase 1, 2, 3. And sorry, guys, that from phase 4, but we're going to shoot you now. That's like, yeah, okay, that works for me. Do like a proper X-Men Days of the Future Past. If need be, I'll also accept James Bonding it or the Jack Kirby face, as Chato pointed out, especially where the Eternals are concerned. But anyway, but the gist of it, Adam, I think, is that if you just fire everyone at Marvel right now, fire every single one of the people behind the scenes and get in talented people that never ever wrote for either Jimmy Kimmel or Rick and Morty, but actually have some talent behind them and that knows, like, get a bunch of script doctors. Let's clone script doctor and have him go and write it all. The audience is going to come back again because the audience were swayed before. And here's the thing. Now you have a generation that grew up with Marvel characters. That's their Star Wars. Of course, they're going to abandon it when it starts sucking, just like everyone else does. But they're still going to have that childhood affection. If it returns to the good that it was when they grew up, they'll be back again. Marvel is one that can be salvaged. Star Wars, I'm not so sure about.
I think in this incarnation, it's dead, and I'll tell you why, Andre. I think that
in
it
this
has been
incarnation,
crushed.
Maybe.
I think it's been crushed under the weight of itself, and this is why I don't know why. Honestly, as much as I love Marvel and the first up through Endgame, what we got out of it, it was nice, but I don't know if that's something we're ever going to have happen again and work out the same way. Because I'll be honest with you, that's one of the few times in history where they managed to do it. And it worked for that long, and now that we're on the other end of it, the proof is in the pudding. It's not going to last. It can't last. It's crushing under the weight of itself, regardless of whether the movies were good or bad at this point. I don't think they can be good because there's just too much baggage. And I'm with some of the people in the chat. Just fucking reboot it.
I don't.
Why do we have to be hung up on this
problem? The problem is no good source material. When
this is what I was going to get to. I think the future of Marvel isn't so much a shared universe, but it's going to be where they actually take specific storylines, and you'll have like, okay, this is going to be this storyline, and it's going to be a set of 3 to 5 movies with X amount of characters and certain characters involved, and then you'll see them do another thing. That's where I think they got to get to eventually, because otherwise this stuff it's just too big to take in, and too many people are just. But they can't take
any storylines from the modern Marvel
well,
comics.
Unfortunately, that's what's got them here.
They're all crap. And to say that we're going to go back and mine the Neil Adams as actually counterproductive, because that's the old guy stuff. We're in a tough spot with regards to pop culture. Like everything has been destroyed, burned up. It's almost as if someone should fix the comic books first, and then move on to the movies and TV shows.
I just see it as more or less like, kind of like a standalone movie, only more like a standalone series. And then they'll move on to the next thing. But again, I'm just spitballing here, but I think that's the only way they get out of this in some way, shape, or form.
What's funny is that the phase model originally was supposed to be that. The problem being is that they've actually turned phase 4 into a very dependent set of movies that are predicated on everything that happened before. And they're trying to, I guess, slowly set up something that's on the horizon, as opposed to what the original movies were doing, which was, it's a standalone story, and it has a couple of teasers and things in there to paint a broader picture overall that you can enjoy, but not necessarily required. You can watch the first phase up into Avengers and stop there, and you'll be fine. And you can watch from the Iron Man 3 up until Avengers 2 and be fine. And you can then watch from the next one after that, I think Captain America Civil War to Endgame, and you'll be fine. But with Black Widow, Shang-Chi, etc., they don't feel like they're standalone stories. They all feel like they're interdependent on each other, and that they're not going anywhere, and that they don't even understand what they are. And that is a big problem, and especially with Ant-Man. Ant-Man feels like nothing but a setup. It doesn't feel like it's a self-contained story that's giving us a little inkling of something on the horizon. It feels like, you have to watch this. This is homework, so that you know who this Kang character is. And yes, he was defeated, so I guess he's no longer a threat, and everything is as it was before. But trust us, we got something else coming. It's like, that's not how you tell a story. That's not what you need to do.
Basically, the test is going to be the next Avengers movie. Here's your homework before it. Now go.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's what it's starting to feel like. Like I actively tried not to watch like the Eternals and Shang-Chi. Like I started watching Shang-Chi and then I'm like, nope. And then I got to a point where I'm just like, I don't care anymore. And I haven't seen half the shows, and I mean literally like half of the shows. Like I watched the first few episodes and then I'll check the fuck out because it's gotten to a point where I don't need it. It's not something that's entertaining to me. Why should I force myself to watch it? I could compare it to a number of things, but I'm not going to. But I think a lot of people are just going to phase out of phase 5, to be honest with you. I think we're already seeing it.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong, but very interesting discussion. I think that the big mistake that they did in phase 4 was exactly what you were saying, Tom. It is now crumbling under its own weight. And that is because of the mistakes that they did in phase 4. What they should have done after the conclusion of phase 3 was gone street level with one series of movies and cosmic with another. So then you have like two separate things with no real connection between them to make it simple again. Make it simple. Do like Daredevil on the streets with some Spider-Man. And then do the Guardians with Nova and everything. Then you would have had it simple. But instead, what they did, and this is what has destroyed them, is all this interconnectivity between Disney Plus and the movies. Like, for instance, how Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness wasn't a sequel to the first Doctor Strange. No, it was a sequel to WandaVision. And we had it again now with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It wasn't a sequel to Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was a sequel to Loki Season 1. If you haven't seen Loki Season 1, you're not going to be completely lost, but you'll certainly have lost out. You'll be completely lost with the post-credit scene. You won't know anything about that without having seen Loki. And same thing with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. If you've done your homework, you've seen all of the movies, but you haven't seen WandaVision, you don't know what the hell is going on in that movie.
Pretty much.
And they're asking for all this commitment that you have to have seen, not just the movies, but you have to have seen like this now 10 episodes of this real shitty series. And
well, and what's sad is
shitty. I don't know what
these movies are getting to the point where they're going to be like shows on TV where you literally have previously on the movie you saw last time, because they almost needed that for Doctor Strange and they should have had it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I'm sure there was a lot of people who were a little lost because they have no idea what had happened in between there. And they're coming to see this because they just watched Spider-Man because Doctor Strange was in Spider-Man.
Yeah,
all they needed...
they
needed, they have on Disney Plus, they have these little 2-minute, 3-minute deals that explain all the Marvel shows for you, by the way. I'm like, all they needed to do was slap that in front of the movie. But then it literally would have become previously on the Marvel Universe. Right? Like... in the movie theaters, no less. Like, I don't know.
With proper leadership, they can resurrect it.
Yeah, they can. But basically, this is how they destroyed themselves. I think is Disney Plus had very much to do with it, with Bob Iger's strategy of it must be interconnected, must be completely overexposed and everything. Everyone must be stretched to their limits, so special effects are crap and everything.
I think you're right.
Cheapened it. It's no longer special, and you no longer get what's going on because now it's no longer enough to have seen the movies. You need to have watched like 50 hours of shitty Disney Plus programming.
So you combine shitty management with Disney Plus's demands, and you get something that's even worse than imaginable.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a $30 billion boondoggle in Disney Plus. Yeah, you're right.
As Tom likes to point out. If you just look at the hours of programming made in each of the phases, there's more programming hours for you to watch between the movies and Disney Plus series in phase 4 alone than in phases 1, 2, and 3 combined. That's the problem for Marvel right now.
Yeah. Well, I would say that's 100% right. But I mean, just if you consider that, because Tom's done the math on this, that's 19 separate things in phase 4 alone. 19 separate things. And they wanted you to try to keep up with that on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I could see Iger standing at the prow of the ship demanding all his rowers saying, we're now doing Disney Plus. and we're putting all our efforts in. This is what we got to make this work. We got to beat Netflix and Hulu. Oh, well, they own Hulu, and everybody else. And I can see that. I can completely see it.
But he basically admitted it. I mean, he wrote about it in his book. The incentive structures he gave to make sure that everyone would just burn as much money on the Disney Plus shows as they would on their movies. And yeah, there you go, Tom, right there. There
I found it finally.
And this phase 4, that's phase 4 so far. So that's not counting the most recent movies. And
I don't think that had Black Widow or Black Panther in it. And I think it had all the shows, but not Black Panther.
How many years between the first 3 Star Wars and the prequels?
20 almost.
Yeah.
No, 83 would be the
22. Because the special editions came out in 97, and then I think Phantom Menace was 99.
But he's talking about 83 to...
Oh, 90, right. Okay, 90, yes, that makes sense.
83 to 90,
so almost
16 years.
Yeah, I was going to say 16, 17 years.
Yeah,
I think
That's a long time. That's contrasts what these people are trying to chew through their sausage factory.
But to that note, like Adam just pointed out, George also did release the special editions in theaters a couple years ahead of time to kind of re-gauge where he was at.
Well, not society. Just that. He said that anyone who does not show these movies again will not get the prequels. He was not a nice guy.
He did do that, yes.
If you
this is why I remind people when they bitch about Disney, I'm like, well, Disney wasn't the first one to do some of this shit. It was actually George.
He was pretty good at strong-arming the business. Let's not put too fine a point on it.
He was a businessman of the right kind.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like funny with George Lucas. He's like, in a sense, the perfect story of Anakin Skywalker, someone who started a rebellion against the system, and then he became what he hated.
Oh yeah, his story parallels Anakin quite a bit.
Kane.
No, Citizen Kane. It's Citizen Kane.
And Citizen Kane too, for that matter. Both of them are the same, really.
Yeah.
No, but like it's funny because he created Lucasfilm in this huge empire for his wife, and he ended up losing her in the end, and that's exactly what happened to Anakin.
Yep.
Oh, we know where he drew that part from.
Exactly, yeah. He was working some shit out in the prequels.
Actually, Paul Atreides from Dune, he turns into a crap hole in the other books.
Well, this is something we've pointed out many a time, is that if you don't understand what's going on, like we knew that was part of the reason why they had the Vanity Fair article and some of the other things, is they're trying to get ahead of this fact that when we get to the sequels, people are going to realize that Paul's not this white savior that everybody seems to think he is.
Well, that he was written like that on purpose,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm saying
power corrupts.
But most people are familiar with the David Lynch film more so than the book.
Well, the first book he's heroic. I mean, the first book he's heroic. He ends heroic. It's the subsequent books which kind of turn things around. I don't know how you're going to make movies on those.
Which is my point exactly. Yeah.
No. Anyways, yeah. George is Paul Atreides. That's who he is.
He needs to be reborn as Paul Atreides, says Jonas. And hello, Jonas. We saw you in the chat there.
Paula
can't join us.
Paula Atreides.
Paula, yeah. Be careful. So yeah, was there anything else to bring up on Marvel? Otherwise, we should move on with some super chats.
Yeah, let's move on with a few of these super chats. Then we'll get into Star Trek before we start losing panelists here, which may happen fairly soon, I think.
Yeah, because I watched the new Picard. Dr. Long Dongler sends a thumbs up. If you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, please do. In fact, I think we only have like less than half of you, only like a third of you have hit that thumbs up. Please hit that thumbs up.
1,600 watching right now.
Yeah.
Everyone smash that like. And unfortunately, I think that we will be losing culture now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to step out. Yeah, for those of you that are here, the 1,600 of you that are here, if you haven't checked out my channel, please do. I am trying to grow, and it's been all because of the efforts of everyone in this chat, and of course everybody on this panel. I want to say thank you to. Got Friday pre-flight happening after this show today on my channel, and then of course the late night Sunday show on Sunday, and otherwise.
And who's doing your wacky thumbnails?
Oh, that would be Mr. Grant Gregory. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, did you see that Bear versus Mickey? That was insane. I was like, wow, thanks, my friend. Yeah, I've got a more down to earth story next week that I'm really excited about. I'm talking about things that the news media doesn't cover, which is well, that's a plentiful.
But that's an easy thing.
It is. Anyway, I got to dip. I love you guys. Have a great one, everybody. Good weekend.
Good talking again, man.
Bye.
Au revoir, culture.
Take care.
Take care. All right, let's continue with these chats before we get into Star Trek.
We got the one, the only, Rod Thunderheart, who says, "Hail, Midnight's Edge in the morning. What does canceling of Star Trek Disco mean for Kelvin timeline movies or series? No plans to see Creed turned Rocky into a deadbeat who wants to die." Well, he's barely even mentioned in Creed 3. Luckily, they don't kill him off screen. Spoilers. But that was one thing I knew would turn people against the film if it did happen. But yeah, we're going to get into this Star Trek Discovery discussion.
Yeah. So just to hold that thought, and we'll do a couple more of these super chats, and then we'll get into Star Trek.
Indeed. And moving on, we got a few more we're going to get through here, and then we'll do that. Yankee Doodle Dandy says, "Script, do you have any IMDb critics? If so, what are they?" Well, I don't know if you really can tell.
I do have credits. I'm not telling them because that would dox me. That'd be silly. But I was just going to say. I mean, those credits are fine, but they don't justify my knowledge.
Can you justify my love? My love. My love. No, yes, I understand.
I do have IMDb credits.
You would like to know, Yankee, and so would many others, but unfortunately he is right. It would dox him. He has mentioned a few things he's worked on, though, in the past.
I have. In fact, there's some things I've worked on that I haven't been credited for.
So. I'm sure there's plenty if you're a script doctor, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so there's your challenge to go through past episodes of Midnight's Edge in the morning and Midnight's Edge After Dark. There's more hours to go through there than there is phase 4 of the MCU.
Like Jonas says, so you're saying your credits are no good here.
Republic credits? Republic credits are no good here.
What can I do with Republic credits?
Hollywood credits are only valuable in California.
You're some kind of Jedi waving your hand around like that. Mind tricks don't work on me, only money. Coffee Lover 239 has been a member for 2 months at the Midnighter level. Thank you so much. JWT 6577 has been a member for 4. Thank you so much. Mario Trillo says Star Trek D is why you never go full censored. Oh yes, and speaking of censor, that just reminded me. Script Doctor Rod actually wanted to plug your Patreon in his tweet, but YouTube wouldn't let him say Patreon.
Oh, well, yeah, they'd be upset with that, I guess.
So
that's okay. Thanks, Rod. We have a meeting soon, so when you got time available, because you're a Patreon member, we can have a fun chat. So hit me up when you're available.
There you go. So let's take a couple more of these super chats because they actually have to do with the topic we're about to talk about. Paul Rasmussen says with a very generous $20, thank you. Says, I watched Star Trek Prodigy for kicks and biggest came to mind. Biggesting. Okay, that's a new word for me. Why didn't they use that protester drive in the 31st century after the burn? They can't keep their own lore right, much less actual Star Trek lore. Well, isn't it? They don't even have like a lore keeper like Star Wars does in Pablo Hidalgo,
they
do they?
Claim to have it, but they lied. And you're right. They can't even keep their own. They can't keep track of their own lore. It's simple as that. It's just to each writer their own, which is a big part of the reason why it's been retooled every single season, and every single season it's something that they just conveniently forget from the last season. So it's like whatever storyline is not being worked on in this moment is something that quickly will be forgotten. So yeah, I have not seen Star Trek Prodigy myself. I never will. But they kind of blew that across the board.
I mean, one of the things that I don't understand, and I I would be surprised if they didn't do it because, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do it. Also, is that that you're always desperate for storylines, and if you're going into this not cold, but you're coming into it some knowledge, the first thing I would do is have several weeks worth of meetings off-site, whiteboards, just bringing up every single bit of canon, putting it into a flow chart, and seeing what really is canon, what makes sense, what can we work with, and then out of that could flow a ton of stories, and you don't have to pull these shenanigans where you're just making stuff up on the fly. I don't see any value in it. The problem is you got to put the work in at the beginning, and people hate doing that. They like to dive into their brains and bring stuff up out of whole cloth, as opposed to doing the groundwork first.
They've leaned too often on the stream of consciousness writing, and as a result, yes, you can get very creative, but you also end up hurting the very thing you're trying to build upon if you're not paying enough attention.
Yeah, but for me, I because I'm a very organized person, I could not think of writing a Star Trek without having done that initially.
Mm-hmm.
There's just no way.
Yeah. So we got a couple more here. Let's go through, and then we'll get into Star Trek talk even more deeper. Nightwish fan says, how the hell did Star Trek Discovery get 5 seasons? Well, we'll tell you. Like Rings of Power, I didn't know you could sign up for 5 seasons up before a single frame was shot. Yes, you can. And in fact, that may even be part of the answer as to how Alex Kurtzman factors into all this. We don't have the specifics yet, but yes, as we pointed out early on, and actually before I was even part of the channel, Andre had done some videos where I believe in those early videos you point out that this thing is set up for 5 seasons once Alex Kurtzman came on board.
Yeah, there was some kind. I don't recall saying 5 seasons specifically already at that time, or if that came up later.
That was my initial knowledge of Netflix signed up for.
Hear that at some point, that there was a 5-season deal between CBS and Secret Hideout. So there was like minimum of 5 seasons.
And Netflix too, wasn't it?
Yeah, Netflix. They were on the hook for minimum 3 seasons, which is why when they had done their 3 seasons, that's when they bugged the hell out of there. There was some point there. I think they were also had a deal where it was originally 5 seasons, but there was some kind of clause where after 3 seasons they had an out. And they did whatever they had to do, which is why, 3 seasons they left, and after that, well, then CBS had no other choice than to pick it up and continue the last 2 seasons themselves at their own expense. Now they try to spin it as if, oh, we're taking this back so it can be exclusive for Paramount Plus, just as it was exclusive for Viacom CBS before, only now we don't have Netflix actually paying for the thing anymore. So at that point, they had to pay for it. There was, of course, an option to renew beyond those 5 seasons, but there was obviously no financial incentive to do that. Because this has always been a disaster for everyone involved. I mean, that's why Netflix wanted out of it, because it did reasonably well in the ratings. I'm not saying otherwise. Like, for instance, whenever a new season was dropped, it would be in the top 10 for a little while, but it wouldn't be there long enough to justify the expense they were getting, because Netflix, they thought that they would be getting the sci-fi equivalent of Cobra Kai. That's what they thought. They thought they would be getting a crowd pleaser. Now, Netflix isn't above propaganda. I mean, obviously, but they still want some kind of balance between propaganda and how much they pay for stuff. And when they pay premium price for something, they also want to get premium subscribers in return. And Star Trek Discovery just didn't do that for them. Neither did it for CBS All Access, which obviously failed and became Paramount Plus.
Man, I forgot that was even a thing until you said that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that.
Well, and it might even be worth pointing out that when Star Trek Discovery first came out, there wasn't all that many streamers on the block for it to compete with as far as original streaming programming.
It was a market at the time.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that Star Trek Discovery is the only reason why CBS All Access failed, but where original programming is concerned, that was the flagship. And that was one flagship that failed to function. Let's just put it that way.
Well, what's funny is this news came across yesterday afternoon, and Andre and I were on a stream with Mr. H, and I just was mentioning how there was no greenlit shows going forward thus far for Star Trek. Even Star Trek News was trying to find a positive spin on it in some way, and they couldn't. And I'd heard this like a week and a half ago from a couple people, and then this is dropped. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, at about 2:00 our time, my time yesterday, I think it was roughly, we get the news coming down that Star Trek Discovery is ending with season 5. Now, they had already shot season 5. So they're going back for reshoots. And I've heard very conflicting reports on how the last seasons were shot as well. I've heard that they were shot separately. I've heard that they were shot together. Plus, we know that there were some reshoots back in November script, I think it was you mentioned.
Doug Jones posted shaved head again. He does that every time before he goes back to filming the character. So there's that. Yep.
So here we are again facing them going back into reshoots. And what we were hearing before that was there was definitely going to be a season 4, but season 5 was either going to be like a half a season and a movie, or maybe a movie or two. And this is where the talks of a Discovery movie came from all of a sudden in the papers a while back. But now we know the answer, and that is they're ending. It's done. It's over with. Vignette. And when this show ends, since they're going back for reshoots and it's going to get pushed out now to 2024, all the other seasons of all their other shows will have aired by then. So it makes you wonder what they're shooting now to finish it off. Plus, this kind of feeds into a rumor, and I don't know how much you have heard since then, Andre, that I've heard at least a couple times now, that they are doing a reset. It's not going to necessarily be the kind of reset you think, but they're going to do some huge celebration for the 60th anniversary of Star Trek. And in the comic books, there's going to be a reset of sorts that's going to pretty much put all this Kurtzman Trek crap into its own little pocket universe.
Yeah, that echoes what I have heard from multiple places as well. That secret hideout is basically done. Their presence is no longer welcome. Now, I'm not going to say definitively that they are done and they are out the door, because knowing how Alex Kurtzman operates, I wouldn't put it past him to find some way to get some kind of extension of some kind. But from anything I've heard, it appears that the intention is that Secret Hideout is done. Their iteration of Star Trek is finished as soon as the last thing, which is currently in development, has been released, meaning there's not going to be any more Picard beyond the 3rd season. We knew this. There's not going to be any more Discovery beyond the upcoming 5th season. And I also think that for Strange New Worlds are concerned, the upcoming 2nd season is likely to be the last, unless they were able to film 2 seasons back to back there as well. That I don't.
No. Not from what I heard. 2nd season's done, but got to remember, Goldsman moved on. He's out of there now too. He's on to bigger, better things as well.
And that tells me, since the Strange New Worlds was his baby, that tells me that Strange New Worlds is done as well.
That's what I'm saying. And even Section 31 has basically, all talk on that has gone completely dark. This is what I've been saying, is nothing is greenlit going forward after what is already done. Not in development, Andre, what is done.
Yeah, I mean, they're already announced that this Picard season is its final season. So we know they're not getting any more after this. Lower Decks, the cartoon show, it's premiering its last season here, and I think it's got a live action crossover with Strange New Worlds, is one of the rumors I heard.
Oh, God.
Dear Lord.
Yes, indeed.
How? They're in 2 completely separate time periods.
Oh, really? You think that logic is something
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
using
right.
current creative
Yeah, why should I even fucking ask, right? Like, they're going to come up with some stupid convoluted bullshit. We all know that. But, like, look, I'm glad to say this shit's over with. I mean, we've already seen a bit of a change in their merchandising already in the past year or so. This is inevitable. It's been inevitable. And what's funny is I don't even think it has anything to do with the failure of Star Trek. I think it has, and I've been hearing about it. I think it had more to do with the fact that Kurtzman fucked up Clarice for CBS more than anything, because that was a bigger deal to them than Star Trek. I mean, because they're not, the whole exclusive or bringing Star Trek home thing was a big bust. We all saw through it right away, as you were mentioning, Andre, earlier, because what didn't they bring home? Picard. If they're really out there doing that, then why didn't they go buy Hulu out of their Picard deal? Because they were full of shit. It's a cover story. That's why. Clearly. And at this point, the merchandising has all been pretty much all classic stuff. I haven't seen anything that has anything to do with Enterprise outside of, I think, a ship, like an Eagle Moss model thing, and some of the model ships. But even those are still made up of a lot of more of the classic Trek stuff. But I think this is done and over with. Well, I'll be interested to see what goes on going forward. Kind of explains now why they're not going forward with the Khan miniseries, and they're doing that as a audio play instead. But that's sad. But yes, Jonas, Hulu is who actually has the deal, or not Hulu, Amazon. I'm sorry, Amazon is what I meant. Amazon, not Hulu. Amazon has the deal with Picard, and they never paid for that. They left it there. So
yeah, and they only have it because Netflix didn't want it. Remember, Netflix had the right of first refusal after Star Trek Discovery, and when the same people offered them another Star Trek series, they refused. That's when Amazon came into the picture.
yeah, none of them wanted Strange New Worlds. Notice that, or the Lower Decks, or
Prodigy
for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, Jonas. It was international. I meant Amazon. I didn't mean Hulu. That was my bad. But yeah. So yeah. Anybody got any reactions to the death of Star Trek? It's like it died and nobody cared, kind of thing.
Well, it's not really Star Trek. That's the thing, right?
That's the thing. Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, I really checked out on Kurtzman Star Trek all the way back in the JJ era. Like I gave it the shot. I wanted to be into it. I wanted Star Trek back because I really like, I really like TOS. I like TNG. I like Deep Space Nine. I even like Enterprise. I even like the original animated series, the Hanna-Barbera style one. But I just...
But you hated Voyager.
I forgot about Voyager, but I did like Voyager.
I didn't.
Yeah. But I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do the blatant... How do I put this? This blatant disrespect for the continuity of the franchise. For lack of a better way of putting it, I didn't enjoy the Kurtzman era Star Trek, especially. I mean, starting it off in the 09 J.J. Abrams film by basically saying we're going to rewrite the timeline and from here on out everything is kind of whatever, and then only loosely connecting it to that. I wasn't there.
Yeah, well, some of you may be wondering why we're looking at Chris Pine's chest here. Well, this goes on with the next part of the story, and that is the question of, does this affect the Kelvin timeline as well? We don't know. Because J.J. Abrams just will not let it die. As Script likes to point out, we're roughly nearing the time now where we're going to hear a new announcement of a new director taking over Star Trek.
A new writer, yeah.
Or a new writer.
That time of the year?
It's getting to be that time of the year again.
Yeah,
yes.
At least once per quarter we hear of a Star Trek 4 news.
Yes. But on that note, while talking to Esquire here, as you see in this piece, it's Chris Pine time. He's out promoting Dungeons and Dragons, which is coming soon. He talked it does, but he talked a little bit about Star Trek in this mess of an interview. I don't know, maybe it's a decent interview. I haven't actually read the full thing, but he expressed his dissatisfaction with being left out of the loop on such things as Star Trek. And he knows that they're going forward with it. But yeah, he has heard nothing. He even says things like, I know one that you even backed him up on script, and he wasn't being hyperbolic at all, where he's talked about he's known, wardrobe people who have read scripts before him. So it sounds like he's not too confident in the future of Star Trek. But I guess this is where it lies right now, it's kind of in his hands, wouldn't you say, Andre? I mean, in a lot of ways.
Well, that depends, because first they have to offer him a script, and he has already kind of priced himself out of that. But it's a catch-22, because he's too expensive to get any more Kelvin Star Trek movies made. But at the same time, they can't get funding for any Kelvin Star Trek movies without him. So yeah, the odds of him returning to Star Trek, though, are very, very slim. About as slim as there being any more Star Trek movies in the Kelvin timeline. I have already kind of like in a previous video declared the Kelvin timeline to be dead and buried, and I see no reason to change that assessment.
Well, Esquire sucks, and when I try to make things zoom in, it just makes shit dumber. But here's the actual Star Trek portion.
What puff pieces look like.
Yeah, I know.
I think, unfortunately, J.J. Abrams has been the death of several of our favorite pop culture properties.
Mm-hmm. So they get into Star Trek here. So let's read this part here. There's a whole bunch of puff about it. And then it goes, Pine's first Star Trek came out a year after the first Iron Man. Beyond was released in 2016. After Marvel's interlocking mega franchise had moved the goalposts for what constitutes a hit, Beyond's gross nearly $344 million globally was good money, but not Avengers good. He says, I'm not sure Star Trek was ever built to do that kind of business. I always thought, why aren't we just appealing to this really rabid fan group and making the movie for a good price and going on our merry way, instead of trying to compete with the Marvels of the world? He'd like to span more years as Kirk, but wouldn't be surprised if Beyond was the end of it. After the last one came out and it didn't do the $1 billion that everybody wanted it to do, and Yelchin, who played Chekhov, passed away, I don't know. It just seemed. He pauses and looks out the window and to view Star Trek bought, and it says cursed. He says it's cursed. And I stopped here because this is something I wanted to point out, because I did point this out last night too. This is something we keep saying here on the show, and people in question go, oh, they don't necessarily expect to make $1 billion. Yes, they do. When we say they expected the Batman to make $1 billion, yes, they did. Because these people are delusional enough that they think something like Star Trek could actually bring in $1 billion at the box office.
They are so delusional. They think that if they put $200 million into the production budget of something, then it should automatically generate $1 billion at the box office for them. Even if the audience never asked them to put $200 million into something. It's kind of like the mentality of if you make it, they will come. That's the mentality that they have. And that mentality isn't always based in reality. Like, for instance, Star Trek has always been something relatively niche. And if it does $1 billion, then maybe it's no longer Star Trek because of the changes you had to make to it. Same thing that our good friend Gary J. Tunnicliffe says about the Hellraiser franchise. It is inherently niche. It can do a few million. You can put it in the theaters and it'll earn them a few million that way, but it can never be more. It can never be like a really huge thing. That option is not on the table.
Yeah, and we heard Emma Watts say similar things before she got the boot, where she flat out said that these movies have a ceiling. These are not $1 billion tentpole pictures. These new films are not making any more, if you go by inflation, than Star Trek 2, 3, and 4 and all the other ones did back in the day, but yet they're costing 3 or 4 times as much to make. So they can't keep doing that. So Chris is right. They needed to find a way to do these movies on a slimmer budget And I think that's part of the reason why JJ was so hopped up on Tarantino's idea. And we did talk a little bit about this yesterday too, because it would have been cheaper. That was a big thing too. Because, and that's the other thing is the rest of the cast outside of maybe Zachary Quinto, their prices keep going up and up and up. I mean, even Zach's still going up, but I mean, he's just not the one that has been in as many movies as the rest. But like even Zoe Saldana has probably been priced out of the movie at this point, I would imagine. But yeah, so moving on from there, since nobody has anything to add to that.
Well, I mean, Star Trek, I mean, it's too bad we lost Star Trek. Although Picard shows how it can be retrieved.
In a way, I mean, that's the question though. Is it too little too late? Because if Picard was it was a big hit, I think we'd be seeing headlines about it, right? CBS would be bragging about it being huge numbers on Paramount Plus. I think they've lost the audience already, Paul. I think that's the problem.
Well,
even though people are liking it.
What Picard is to try and bring back the audience. And now it's got a lot to do to achieve that, but it's going to be a slow climb, but they're in a far better direction, and they're coming at the stories with a lot more reverence, not just to Star Trek, but to the craft of storytelling than what we've seen in previous ones. Now, just because they're doing it well this way doesn't excuse the mistreatment that has occurred before, and nor should it. But at least you have a group of creators from a completely different team that have come in and are trying to essentially say Star Trek is valuable enough that it could suffer the likes of Kurtzman, and with the right shepherding can bounce back and become strong again. So it really, I don't think it's going to start taking off. If Robert Meyer Burnett and all the others that have seen it so far are correct in their assessment, I don't think we'll start seeing a surge in it until maybe the midway through the season is wrapped.
They gotta hope so.
Take that long for people to realize, oh, this is not the same.
Playing devil's advocate and kind of piggybacking off that, I have seen a lot more people making YouTube videos being like, Picard's suddenly good, referring to season 3. So there is some hope there. There's also, if we're going to be completely fair to all Star Trek being equal here, pretty much every iteration of Star Trek has started off by being like, well, this is Star Trek now. Like famously, first season of TNG, nobody liked, stuff like that. And I personally don't really care about Kurtzman era Star Trek, but one can maybe eventually look at it the same way, where we had to get through all these really bad shows to have like one good season of Picard. Will that save it? I don't think so. But I as far as the death of Star Trek, I kind of accepted that back when Enterprise ended.
No,
that's a lot
wrong there. When Enterprise ended, society changed drastically as a result, and you can pinpoint it right to that last day. So we'll have to wait and see. Sorry, Tom.
I was gonna say, yeah, no, that's fine. I was just say, yeah, most people consider that the ending pretty much. Is Enterprise the last time we've had decent Trek? But he goes on here to say it's cursed, as I said. It shouldn't be this hard to figure out how to do another Star Trek movie, yet it has taken 6 years. Pine and Crew's return to the screen was announced back in February 2022. When I spoke with producer J.J. Abrams on the phone, the search for director is ongoing, anyway. Abrams is elliptical about the film, even by J.J. Abrams standards. I will say it's the first time since the original reboot that we have a story that feels compelling as the first one. Notice he doesn't say anything about said story, though. Even this is news to Pine, because I don't know anything, he says, which is apparently pretty standard in Star Trek land. The actors are usually the last people to find out anything, and this is what I was saying before. I know the costume designers who have read the scripts for the actors. Is it weird I asked to be the captain and know so little about what you're signing on to? I would say it's frustrating, Pine says. It doesn't really foster the greatest sense of partnership, but it's how it's always been. I love the character, I love the people, I love the franchise, but to try and change the system in which things are created, I just can't do it. I don't have the energy. And then he does some ballerina dance.
He didn't say he loved JJ, did he?
No, but he did say he loved the people, which I'm assuming is involved with. But at the same time, look, I think it's pretty clear that the Kelvin line's dead.
The Kelvin timeline died in 2016 with the release of Star Trek Beyond, and every single attempt at salvaging it has just failed miserably. It's all fallen flat on its face, and I disagree. Like, when Chris Pine says that it's cursed, I don't like that term, because that sounds like a Hollywood agent or Hollywood incumbent saying, "Oh, this is so difficult that I can't do it, but I'm so good that it must be something divine. It's cursed because otherwise I could do it." No. You just can't do it for various reasons, and because of the bad robot connection and the contracts they made or something, they can't do it. They're not capable of getting it off the ground. It's as simple as that. Start fresh, bring back some of the people that are doing the Orville right now, for instance, get them back involved and do proper Star Trek again. I assure you can do it. So it's not cursed. It's just cursed with the wrong people attached.
Well, and all he did is get a bunch of Star Trek people for the most part. So
listen,
at the best
of times, just getting a movie out is a giant accident, and making it good is several orders of magnitude harder than that.
Oh, absolutely, Paul. One of my favorite sayings is it takes a million things to go right to make a movie and only one thing to go wrong to derail the whole thing. So that's very true. But Jonas brought up the Chris Hemsworth business. Like that was like 3 scripts ago.
Actually, right? The Chris Hemsworth thing, this was the very first iteration.
Or that would be 4 or 5 scripts ago then.
Yeah, and this was the script that was written by the 2 idiots that were later went on to showrun the Rings of Power. They were the ones that did the script, bringing back Chris Hemsworth, who, because of time-traveling shenanigans, would be back as Kirk's father, because Chris Hemsworth was Thor now, and they wanted to cash in on that at the box office, because they were lucky enough to get him early with the sequel clause. They could get him for slightly less than his regular market price. Not that much less, but anyway. So yeah, that was the plan. That was the script of the 2 Rings of Power idiots, and thank God it never happened. I've never read it myself, but I've heard nothing good about it from anyone who wasn't direct or who didn't stand to directly profit from it.
The Rings of Power idiots.
Pretty much.
But they are. You saw the Rings of Power.
Oh yeah. And their subsequent interviews. I mean, you know,
they did such a horrible job. They'll probably get 6 movie picture deals sooner or later. I mean,
what a horrible burden.
Of which none will happen. Adam, you were saying.
I was just laughing. Yeah. I mean, they're failing upwards.
Yeah.
But
he got it.
Just look at like the showrunners for the Game of Thrones,
right?
D&D, who were considered as these genius people until people realized, oh wait, they were only genius when the books were so linear that any idiot could adapt them and make a killer script out of it, because you were basically just copying and pasting from what was there in the book. The moment they actually had to do some level of adaptation, or when the books got difficult, they screwed up. And when they didn't even have the books, they only had outlines. That's when they really fell apart and got exposed. Of course, before then, they had already gotten all of these massive, massive contracts with Netflix and with everyone, like even Star Wars trilogy. What has happened in the year since? Nothing, because they got exposed. And everything they have pitched to everyone has been declined. And
so with that, no, go ahead, Andre, finish.
Yeah, yes, no, it was basically just, so once you are exposed, there's a limit to how much more you can fail to the top. You can fail up to a certain level.
Yeah.
And up to that level, when you try to go beyond your close circle of friends, it's going to be difficult to fail up anymore.
Well, Paul is being called away. His mom says he can't play anymore. So we have to let him go, but he does have a couple of super chats here. Let's see here. The first one was ActionCom, I think. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sure Six has it before I will, but I might find it. Is this it? Chato and script. Do writers usually use, or do writers really use flow charts? Ugh, I can't read to.
Writers use any means they can that allows them to achieve to write. So flow charts, cue cards,
Post-its,
post-it notes, scribbling on their arm, voicemails to their phone, writing on walls to the chagrin of your spouse.
I think it was like Robert Zemeckis said, thank God for the invention of post-it notes, because that's what helped make Back to the Future. They just started post-it noting the little ideas, and just before they knew it, they had the whole story on the wall.
Yep. Anything that facilitates the writer to write, even like outlining, like there's no standard outline. However you need to outline that gets you to writing your draft is the right way, so to speak. As long as it gets you to write and finish a script, whatever method you need to get there, that is, and it works for you, that is what you want to support with. And so, yes, flow charts, whiteboards, bubble charts, even like spreadsheets to a degree, which is not so much on the data collection. It's like, we'll do a spreadsheet. This is the character and what are the interactions that they're going to have. And we'll just plot that out type of thing. Like whatever they do, whatever you can do to get you to finishing a draft. Those are the methods that every writer tends to use. Whatever.
Buy a Japanese toilet, and then you just can use the toilet paper.
If you need
instead.
to sit on a Japanese toilet in order to write what you need, that is a method that.
I'm saying then you can use the toilet paper for that instead.
Sure.
Go to better use.
What is your?
Yes,
what is your...
Paul.
Flow
do
charts?
writers? Yeah.
Well, anytime I've run a room, I've demanded it. So, I don't know what else to say. People don't initially like it, but then feel relieved once we're done. Because everybody just wants to jump in and write scripts.
I think you also just described that toilet. They don't initially like it, and then they feel relieved when they're done.
and then they have no idea where their product went.
I'm on a mission now. You don't understand, like
where their effort has disappeared to. Wait a second.
Andre,
I'd even be sweating afterwards.
Thing I'll be saving
also
for
exhausting
years.
if it's a tough thing to overcome.
Right. I miss my poos every time I go to the washroom. I check to see.
Well, it was a part of you at some point. So.
That's right. And there's nothing like having a big dump and turning back and going, "Oh my God, it's gone. I didn't get to see it."
Okay, so now I'm confused here, Paul. Not on the poop thing, but on the other thing. Are you leaving, or did you just get called away for a bit, or are you actually leaving?
I got called away for a bit. The wife
was
demanding something. I can't stay for much longer, but but I'll stay to the end of this painful exercise.
Okay, well, I was just wondering because we were jumping to your super chats. Otherwise, that's
I'm still okay. Well, are we still on Picard? On what are we on to?
Well, we hadn't talked Picard yet. Did you watch the new Picard?
Yep, I'm happy to dump into that.
We can
dive into that.
Dump into that real quick if we want to. I guess. I mean,
dump was Business 1 and 2. That's where Picard, or that's where Kurtzman took his dump. All right.
That's right. Well, he got tossed from this. I don't know how you get tossed from it. I mean, he has some executive producer ownership of this.
Yeah, he does. He owns Secret Hideout, and the production deal that CBS made with the exclusive makers of Star Trek was with Secret Hideout. So it's kind of difficult to get rid of him completely.
Well, let's start there. Lauren is curious on what Paul's take so far is on season 3. Here we are, 3 episodes in. So let's start there with Paul, since you'll be leaving us shortly. What's your feeling so far on this?
Well, my baseline is also, as always, am I interested in seeing the next episode?
Oh, I thought you were baseline by.
What?
Well, that's what everybody is now. In Star Trek, especially, is baseline by.
Oh, yeah, especially in Star Trek Discovery. I
don't know what that term means, but that's fine. I'm not.
That was their writing for the characters. That means they all start as a baseline as bisexual.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, you kids and your multi-gender
And
conversation.
being straight is frowned upon, but they're luckily just a minority.
I came from a time when there were only two genders. Anyway, so I'm okay. Bottom line, I'm really excited and interested, and I want to see the next episode. I can hardly wait. The shows have gotten better and better from the first one that was kind of stumbly, but I got it, and then the second one was good, and the third one is great. And I would say a lot of it has to do with Shaw, to tell you the truth. I really like the actor, and I like how he's being portrayed. And even though you thought he was set up as being a jerk by 7 of 9, he follows military protocol. And when he got injured and passed the bridge onto Riker, I went, wow, that was great. I really, the guy wasn't Captain Queeg wanting desperately to hold on to power right until the very end, and his incapabilities overcome the benefit or the welfare of the ship. No, the welfare of the ship was number one in his mind, because he is a good captain, or a good whatever that rank is.
No, he's a captain.
Captain, and he handed it off to Riker. I thought that was great. The conversation between Picard and Crusher was fantastic. And I know at the opening before we got online, it's one of those things where if you could write this from scratch, that this has never existed before, you would want to have been able to spend the time to develop this rich backstory of each of these characters, and the way that I guess Terry has used the history of TNG and Deep Space Nine and a little bit of Voyager here and there, has been great. I mean, again, this is the flow chart, right? I'm going to throw up on the wall everything that we know, the recent history of these people, and how can we bring it back and make an unbelievable rich bed for the discussion, man, the origins of Jack Crusher and Picard not being told about him. It was almost Shakespearean. It was fantastic. I'm not like saying this is Shakespeare level dialogue, but very emotional, nice stuff, nice little mystery as to just why the crabby vessel was able to follow them all through inside the nebula. Nice mysteries. It's good.
I'm enjoying Star Trek, The Wrath of Honey Bunny.
The Wrath of Plumber.
Amanda Plummer, Honey Bunny.
Amanda Plummer. Yeah, and I thought she was a bit over top at the beginning, but now I'm really enjoying it. Darlings, let's go after them. Fire again. Oh, yes, do it again. Yes, one more time.
Well, I didn't care for this.
Much better than Kang, I will say that.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't care for the second episode as much, but this one kind of got me back for two specific reasons. The two scenes that got me, one of them you already mentioned, or actually you mentioned both of them. The one that I mainly wanted to get on to first of all that you mentioned was the scene where the captain gets injured, and he basically blames. He tells like, this is your guys' fault. Now you're going to get us out of this, Captain, as he turns it over to Riker, like you said. And in that moment, now the responsibility is falling on Riker's shoulders. And then you have a scene that follows that where he literally calls to task Picard, which is shit you don't normally see in these kind of shows anymore. No, because he's right. He's like looking at Picard like, do you realize the trap you just fucking fell for? And now that we're in, and it's all your fucking fault. And it's like, even though he's along with him, it's like it's because of his, inability to think correctly because of this whole thing going on with his son and everything like that. And then that leads into the next scene with him and Crusher, where the first time they get to talk after he's realized what's going on, and he has that great, and again, it's what actors Jack love to do is the monologue. And he's like, you took that, choice away from me kind of thing. And then the 17-second ride down the thing.
And when Jack gets injured, you go, wow, he's, of course he's going to feel that. That's legit. That's great. And there's none of this Berman is God BS stuff in it, that people are flawed. They're making mistakes. They're doing the best they can at that moment. They've now got a interloper. We're giving away spoilers. We've got that interloper on the ship, and oh my God, the relationship with Raffi and Worf is great. Like, it almost makes her good. Like, I really, really enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to that pair having their little spy adventure.
Well, I think what's making Raffi good is the fact that now she's being properly mentored.
Yes.
Beforehand, she was all on her own. She was doing her own thing. No one was giving her guidance or putting her in her place that she needed to be to grow as a character. But Worf is like, no, I'm not letting you do that. I'm taking control. You need some guidance. You've got a warrior spirit. I'm gonna help you through this.
And they've got a dude in Worf kicking ass. Like STD just did not want to have any dude from the episodes I saw. And I know there were some.
The Worf stuff to me was funny, but the Raffi stuff is still feeling forced.
I like Raffi in this. I like Raffi in the episode 3. I thought she was great.
She's getting better. I mean, you also have like Thomas Dekker, who plays the human hostage thing that they're interrogating, and he does it fairly well. I mean,
yeah,
Thomas Dekker looks a lot
that is
like
one of her better scenes. Yes,
and what I loved the thing, they threw a distraction in there because he's playing a character that's named like Titus Ricker. And he's the right age, like you would assume. And some of my friends when were texting me when they were watching, it's like, oh my God, is that Riker's kid that is alive that should be dead? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think that's a red herring type of thing, because Titus Ricker is very much Riker and Titan, right? You could have those interchangeably. There's an overlay there, but it was clearly a red herring to set up for the later reveal, which is that there's something connected to DS9 with this character and what's going on and everything else, and the mystery that something else might have been stolen from the Daystrom Institute, aside from this weapon that we saw in the first episode, where it's like a portal and can cause things to disappear from one location and appear in another, and with disastrous results. It's quite engaging. I dig a lot of what they're doing. I still have some reservations onto it, but again, those are being quelled with every new episode. So if they keep going in this direction, I think it's going to stick the landing quite well.
That's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, like, I mean, I'm not completely on board yet, but
well, I mean, enjoy it while you can.
Yes.
There's just a lot of it that feels like, look, the Wrath of Khan-isms are starting to get really heavy in this last episode. If I want to nitpick a little bit, that'd be it. It feels a lot like Wrath of Khan. It's like, did you guys have to really just copy it verbatim? Like,
well, they went the opposite. They took the premise and they just inverted it in the opposite way, where between Kirk and Carol Marcus, they agreed that Kirk would be different, would be distant. Beverly didn't even have that conversation.
Yes, that is different. I agree there, but
which feels very out of character for the character of Beverly. I mean, she does try to justify it, but I like the fact that Picard calls her on that BS, because her justification is completely flawed, like deeply flawed. And I'm glad that they did that.
But it's understandable, because a woman would see that. Like, I get her point of view, but that's where that was one of the few times where I felt Patrick Stewart had a really strong performance, where he's like, you did not get to make that, you took that choice away from me, kind of thing.
I did like the joke about the accent. Where did he get the accent from? Oh, yeah. He went to school in London and didn't shake it. I'm like, thank God they justified it, because that was nice. Yeah. That was nice. One thing that did throw me off is there's a scene where because Shaw, you said, is injured. There's a scene where he's bleeding internally, and Crusher's like saying imaging scanners don't pick it up right away. I'm like, no, I don't believe that in 20.
No, I had a hard time with that also, but that just shows that's how good she is as a doctor.
Exactly.
I have no problem with her being able to say, yes, I can tell from his symptoms and stuff that he's bleeding internally. And the doctor could be like, well, this thing's showing this stuff. And she's like, well, if you scan one level lower, you will actually pick up the internal bleeding. The reason you can't see is because this other injury is blocking that visually for the scanners.
Exactly. That was only meant to show that even if she was 20 years behind the times when it comes to technical stuff, she still has her experience.
Yeah,
but she's not 20 years. She's still been a doctor, just not in part of the Federation.
That confused me too, because wasn't that the whole thing? She was working on some secret vessel where they were working on shit.
Yeah, but she's probably not been keeping up to date with the latest medical journals.
Yeah, I agree.
She hasn't been getting the latest mandatory Starfleet updates and all of that stuff. I had no problem with her being 20 years behind.
She might not be getting the access to it, but I've never known a doctor who, even after they retire, doesn't keep following up with the current medical journals that are coming.
But you know what? This is more like someone who was a doctor in the Korean War comes up to some young thing who's book learned and is schooled on the latest medical technique, and they don't have the practical experience of the Korean War.
Yeah.
And they think they know what they're doing. They're using all the tools that they've been taught to use. Yet this veteran comes in and goes, I know what this is. I don't mind that. That to me was kind of fun. I was
fine with it. I just didn't buy the excuse that they gave. Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed it. This is like a good, the whole show is like a good TNG. And
to a point, yes, but
yeah,
I get where Script's coming from, because that scene in a different, I don't know if it's the same thing, but in a different way, it kind of came out to me. It's like, oh, you're doing that. Like, I get it. Yes, she's still a good doctor, but did they have to do it that way to where, like, oh, the what was it? The
CMO of the Titan made a huge assumption that the story this far has been like, well, no, there's nothing to say that she hasn't been practicing in 20 years. She may be behind or not have access to all the details of Federation technology, but there's nothing saying that she hasn't stopped practicing and she's just raised her kid. Like that's not what's going on here. So
it led up to the scene with the captain, which is what I was going to get to, because that whole thing kind of came off like a typical, really poorly written thing from like the 70s or 80s, when they would try to have one character who was put down and put in their place in one scene, and then the next minute they, outshine the younger, more brash version of themselves. Like, it just kind of came off cliche. Was my guess.
But you're being additive as opposed to just looking at the totality of it and absorbing it and enjoying it in its completeness, which is the way you look at a Bertolt Brecht play. You can't take apart a Bertolt Brecht play while you watch it. Not that this is Brecht, but I think you're nitpicking too much. The thing is, if each part can be nitpicked to death, then in its totality, it's going to be bad.
Well, I think it was, put it to you this way, though, Paul.
Totally enjoyable.
As far as like, okay, on the level of the original show, not close. On the level of the movies, better than. So it's like somewhere in that meandering middle ground of like, is it as good as old TNG? No. Is it better than the TNG movies? Yes.
Oh, the TNG movies were terrible.
Mm-hmm. That's the best I can say so far about it, right? Like, I'm not bought into it though. Like, I have the baggage, man, and I get it. I would love to have jumped into this without have seeing at least the first season, because that's all I've watched. I haven't seen the second of Picard, but
a lot of people have said that.
Yeah,
and I did not see the first 2 seasons at all.
That's the thing, is every time I get that twinge, of like, you're getting back into this, or you're getting back into that, or there's certain little things here and there, even the language, right? Because that was the one time where it really bothered me with Discovery and all these new shows, is like, when did it all of a sudden it be okay for them to just start flying out the F word and shit and other things they normally wouldn't say? And that was something I actually asked, Nicholas Meyer about. I'm like, how do you feel about this whole thing with them swearing now in the show, when you made it a big point in Star Trek 4 that they're beyond that? Right? Like, I don't get it. Like, and again, that goes back to the whole lore and they don't pay attention to their own canon shit. But he said that's a good question, and I don't have an answer for that. But that's just because at that time, he wasn't even in the loop anymore. But like, I just, those things kind of throw me out of the show. It's like they take me away. They don't.
Did they swear in episode 3?
Oh yeah.
I don't.
He said.
Oh, and
he said
Star Trek
shit
4,
and fuck. I think both. No. He's talking about in this episode. The captain said shit.
Yeah,
and I think there's at least one F word, I think, in there too.
I remember his shit, but I thought it was well placed.
Yeah.
That one wasn't as bad this time, but there's been other times where it's been worse.
Oh, you are such a puppy.
Well, in Discovery, they dropped the F-bomb a number of times.
All the time.
Yeah, and that was completely tiresome. The other thing I liked about the show is that it shot claustrophobically. that even though the set is quite large, the cameras are in there all the time, and it feels more submarine-y. I like that.
Especially with them having to look out in the back windows just to get bearings because their sensors are useless in the nebula. I thought that was clever. It was it brought back to an episode in the first season where Geordi has to go down to the forward observation thing to see this alien kind of space creature thing above the Garden of Eden planet that Wesley Crusher is going to be executed on.
And Geordi's daughter is not horrible at all. Like, she's enjoyable compared to all the other characters that they've thrown onto Strange New Worlds, or especially Disco.
I'm even enjoying the bald Vulcan.
The Vulcan was great. Mind your Vulcan business. It was good. No, she was good.
He got to the Bajoran, I guess, tactical officer or something. He's all right. He doesn't get as much screen time, but he's not distracting, and he's not like what the crew on Discovery was. Is why is this guy here? Like,
yeah, I'm looking for 7 of 9 to take the shapeshifter out.
Oh, probably, yeah.
She's got the strength to do it. So I think it's a great build up so far. This would have made one of the best TNG movies so far. I like it. I like Worf. Love Worf. He's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Worf actually realizes he's funny now. That's what I kind of enjoyed about him, is that he tells a joke and he knows it's a joke, as opposed to everything up until that point where he was so serious he didn't realize he was funny until like Jadzia Dax told him he was funny. And now, many years after her death and him growing, he's like, yes, I realize I can be funny. Would you like some tea?
That's right. That was great. I'm enjoying it. I'm waiting for the next one.
Yeah, me too, actually. I'm enjoying this a whole lot more than I am The Mandalorian. I never thought I would say it. My big annoyance with this whole thing, which echoes what Tom said, is that we're technically still not dealing with Picard. We are dealing with the android replica of the late Picard. To me, that is an issue.
And some of the modernisms in the
hard
writing.
Time getting over, and I don't blame Terry Matalas for it. He was given a bag of lemons, and from that he has made the best lemonade that he possibly can. I just wish that we could go back in time and give Terry Matalas the reins on Star Trek to begin with. If he had been the showrunner from day one, instead of Alex Kurtzman, already from Discovery, we would be in a much, much better position right now.
I think they should have Crusher. They should have Crusher make out with the new Picard and praise the android enhancement that they gave him.
Well, they didn't give him any. That's also like an annoyance.
No. Yeah, why pour him in? Why not put him into Dolph Lundgren's
why make
body?
him an android that can drop dead any second from a heart attack or stroke or something like that? Like, defeats the purpose.
Well, they do have an excuse for that, apparently, that they just want to keep his spirit.
Yeah, they try to hang hanging a lantern, I think is the old term, where they're like, oh yes, we're going to acknowledge that yes, he's a robot, but he's still the same person. Like, they're trying to reaffirm that. I mean, he is a copy, but
Terry has basically ignored that.
Yeah, he's doing his best forward. To do it. Yeah, he's bringing it up and then completely batting it away, saying, "Yep, we know it. Bye, thanks.
Bye, thank you."
Yeah.
Again, he's made the best lemonade he can from the lemonades he was given.
Well, there's, like I said, there's a few other things I have issues with beyond that too, but we'll leave that alone, because otherwise
we have a number of more super chats we need to get through here.
Yes, we do.
And was there any with the one for Paul, since we don't know how long?
Thunderheart says, Paul, just wanted to say your last video, I had to pull and take a few minutes to stop laughing. Pull over, he means probably because he was driving. Stop laughing at your Mandalorian hockey metaphors. Hilarious, he says. Absolutely hilarious.
Thank you.
Oh, it was brilliant.
It just came to me as I was writing it, which is what always stuns me when people comment on the proper canon and lore of these shows. Dude, I'm making a joke. This is like I'm using hockey metaphor. Stop correcting me.
Here's one I think you'll enjoy. ActionCom says, "Can we put $200 million? Can we put $200 million into the My Dinner with Andre remake? I got a feeling that would make Marvel money. Only if Paul and Andre are in it, though."
The movie I would love to rewrite is Black Widow. That's the one movie I'd love to rewrite.
Wouldn't you rather be in a dinner with Andre with me for 200 million?
Well, this one, yes, I would do that.
Yeah, I would love for Disney to pay 200 million for a Dinner with Andre remake. I'd be all for that. As long
I
as
can certainly join you and do the character correctly.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
You'd all be nominated, because for 200 million, that's a lot of dinners and a lot of restaurants all over the world.
That's a lot of takes, let me tell you. Indubitably.
There's even going to be some. I think even have a hunch there's going to be some money for hookers and blow on the side.
What's on the menu? Reindeer?
Well, yeah, reindeer are tasty.
I know that. That's why I'm saying we got to do that.
The hookers and blow, that's for management. When I was involved in doing some major commercial work here in Toronto, one of the things that people don't understand, back in the good old days, you had hookers and blow ready, and then the vice president of the company that you're doing the video for comes down to the set, and then you supply them with whatever it is that they want, and they leave very quickly. That was part of the job,
and you guys get back to work making something good.
That's right. Went back to doing the commercial, the 30 seconds of brilliance.
And that's how economy and brilliance works.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's how you deal with management.
Yeah. And
I don't see any
reindeers are yummy.
Yeah, send them away with a reindeer.
Yeah, reindeer's good stuff.
I've had venison.
It's different. It's very different.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. The only place in the U.S. you can really get it is Alaska.
Ah.
Yeah.
I've had buffalo or bison, actually.
That's good too. That's very good.
Bison's great.
Mm-hmm.
Shockingly not greasy. So
very muscular meat.
Muscular meat. Yep.
Yep.
But have you had whale?
No.
It tastes like water mousse. That's like the best I can say. Like it reminds of mousse.
I've had rattlesnake.
That I have not.
It's good.
But anyway, for a $200 million Dinner with Andre remake, we're going to sample all of those things.
And I think that's
Wallace
all
Shawn. Well, I can do Wallace Shawn, as we know.
And then we'll send Tom to the Japanese toilets afterwards.
Yeah, while you guys were talking Picard, that's like half of what the live chat and I were talking about is Japanese toilets.
Clearly you haven't been watching it, so yeah.
Yep.
And have you guys talked about Mandalorian? Was I gone during the Mandalorian conversation? Or were we bothering?
We spoke about it on Wednesday. I believe you were here. I haven't clipped it yet.
Talked about it Wednesday. It was such a forgettable, boring episode.
Yeah, that's right. It was so forgettable. I forgot that we talked about it. So
he's a babysitter and he's got to go take a bath. That's all we learned.
And the marketing department said he's got to have Grogu. You have no choice.
Yeah.
I still wish they would just
move on with these super chats here.
Did we have any more for Paul? I don't,
because I'm going to move on myself.
I think we were done with yours, Paul. So if,
okay.
I'm double checking here. Did I miss any 6? I don't think so. But with that, as Andre says, tell us what you got coming up, Paul.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I've been experimenting with editing my videos remotely on this 10 gigabit connection server, but now I'm waiting for the parity check to complete, and I'm only at 15%. God damn it. So other than that, I've got a new TV guide coming up that's I'm working on. That's fun, and I'm not really doing every single episode of the shows that I'll do 1 or 2 initially, and then I just take a break, watch the whole series. So people are asking me why I'm not doing a review of each episode of these shows, and it's just I have no interest in it if I can't find a unique angle. So I'll wait to the very end now, I think, of Mandalorian, and I'll wait to the very end of Picard unless something pops up, and then do a wrap-up review at the very end. I've got some other really interesting, I think, internet philosophical YouTube social media videos that I've started to write that nobody will want to watch, but you know, I enjoy doing them. So that's it for me. And with just the countdown to 100,000, that's the big thing. Countdown to 100,000. So I can join Adam and all these other illustrious people who've got the plaque. Did you get a plaque, Adam?
I've got 2 of them, yeah.
You bugger.
But congratulations on your success, and you'll get that
Well,
plaque soon. No problem, man.
And I've subscribed to at least one of your channels.
I think you followed me on Twitter during this.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I did.
Appreciate it.
And I look forward. And nice to meet you.
Likewise. Yeah, it was really cool talking to you.
And we'll talk again. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, Paul.
Take care.
All right, let's get back into these super chats from the top. John Thomas sends in $20. Holy crap, thank you so much. Says, haven't any of you read the Recluse Saga or Image series by Ellie Modest? How do you say that? Modessit? Yeah. No, I haven't, obviously. He tells both series in a series of backward steps and moving forward from that point. Telling what came before is not hard for competent writers. Well, I'm not familiar with these. Is anybody else on the panel familiar?
Sorry, no.
No, it's not ringing any bells. But when it comes
I
to
regret that this is new to me.
yeah,
Recluse Saga sounds familiar, but I'm not familiar with it.
Well, when it comes to writing a prequel, there's 2 methods. One, you can be dependent on what the originals are, or 2, you can just tell a different story that doesn't have any impact on the original, and both are perfectly acceptable. The question being is that you don't want the one that's dependent or deeply connected to the original to be so dependent that it can't stand on its own, and that we already got that version where the prequel trilogy itself cannot really stand on its own without the original trilogy behind it.
All right. Then we have Dark Winter, who says, Tom, did Dave Filoni seriously claim Luke isn't a Jedi? I guess where he gets this mentality from, I do not know.
Because he didn't graduate from the Jedi Order. That I think that's his logic, which is BS, because the title, the last movie is called Return of the Jedi, not Return of the student who learned the Force.
I mean, Yoda straight up tells him, when gone am I, the last of the Jedi you will be.
He does. Like, yeah.
And I think that guy's slightly qualified to make that call.
I mean, he kind of is the guy.
Jedi. I'm pretty sure he knows what qualifies, right?
He was one of the guys that made that choice, exactly. And I mean, he even tells him, nothing left to learn, have you? Right? Like,
yep.
His last thing is to face Vader, plain and simple.
So basically, we don't agree with Dave.
This is why I call Mr. Filoni baloney. Don't trust this dude as far as you can throw him. That's all I'm gonna say.
So, I mean, if you were to put this in like school or academic terms, you know, Luke didn't go to high school; he was homeschooled, but he still got the education, right?
Yeah,
he still got a GED.
There you go. And the teacher, you know, stamped him and said, "Yeah, you're good to go."
Well, it's more than that. It's not so much that he's homeschooled; it's that he had a private tutor come in and teach
Perfect,
him,
yeah.
and one of the best tutors in the field of the
like,
subject he's at.
Literally the best.
He's technically a master.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, he surpassed his dad there. Anakin never got.
Doesn't he get referred to as a master after that? I thought.
Well, in the books, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess he would never technically be called that in Return of the Jedi.
No.
Yeah, so
his trial is saving his father. That's exact. And when he succeeds,
right,
that's when he truly becomes the Jedi. Yeah.
But now you got me thinking. Like, was he ever referred to as master in anything that is considered canon? Even if we don't like it, something like this Last Jedi.
I'm trying to remember what they called him in the sequel trilogy. Was it Master Skywalker? Yeah, she did. She called him Master Skywalker.
Yeah. But to be fair, she may not be qualified to know that term.
Does she know how to define a woman?
Right. Well, sure. But like, I mean, does what does Ahsoka call him?
Called Luke? I don't know. I think he just calls him Luke.
But I guess we're getting too nerdy.
Like, Filoni's baby. He's trying to use her to circumvent Star Wars and do his own thing.
Sure. I guess it was more of a curiosity. I'm not trying to make that claim either. I'm just curious if anybody actually calls him Master Skywalker at any point.
As far as I'm concerned, Yoda says he is done. Right?
Oh, I agree. I agree completely. It's literally, I'm just wondering if anybody says that title to him ever. That's all.
They call him Master Luke, according to Mike in Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there you go.
So there you go.
Dave Filoni have a hand in that?
Yeah, but he wouldn't know what the fuck he's doing.
He changes his mind a lot.
Fair.
He don't know. He's probably more worried about which cowboy hat he's going to wear today.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The only person who called Anakin Master Skywalker was that little kid he kills in Revenge of the Sith, right?
Yes.
Master Skywalker, there's too many. What are we going to do? And then just is killed.
Which was probably a snafu, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also has to do with the fact of the hierarchy between the trainees and the teachers.
True.
Like if you're a pupil, any Jedi that is fully trained would be a master compared to you.
Right. Well, and even in 3PO refers to him as master, but that's because he's there technically is.
Well, that's
different. He's
yeah. So like, I mean, I guess in that respect, I suppose, but whatever. As a sign of respect of like elder respect and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the whole things, impetuses of Anakin's discomfort of being on the council is that he's a Jedi Knight, but he doesn't have the rank of master.
Right.
So,
well, has he mastered the Force? Luke supposedly has, so I would say he's Jedi master.
I agree.
Well, he's the only one, so by default, he's the master. So
he is.
Regardless, he's like top of the food chain, if he wants to be or
Unless
not.
Grogu's still around, then
yeah.
But Grogu needed to be trained by him, so I think
Grogu I think has brain damage, and that's why.
The more you bring it up, the more you talk, the more I think about it, script, the more it pisses me off. Because you're right. And now that I'm like, we were robbed of this great moment of the baby just going, yeah, I can talk. What the fuck? I'm 50. Like I was just pretending because I didn't know who to trust. It makes sense then.
So he's kind of like that little baby in like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Exactly.
Okay, good. That just mental picture.
Like
I'm a 50-year-old stuck in a 3-year-old dinky. Tennille 89 says, "Oh, new crop of kids. I thought Tom said nuke the kids. Oh, never would I say nuke the kids. Jesus, Lord Almighty. I mean, the next generation, my friend. Holy cow. I could see where if I said it too fast, it could sound like that, though." Dude Fallon says, huge fan of Guy Ritchie. Thoughts on his new film? Oh, I didn't know he had a new film out. I think he's all right.
Yeah, this is the one, that script you were going to see. I haven't seen it yet, but I am looking forward to checking it out. I forgot the title.
Operation Fortune?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The one that Los Angeles Times calls Mission Intolerable?
That sounds promising.
That's Guy Ritchie.
Yeah.
Matthew Vaughn has got another film called Argyle with Henry Cavill that I'm looking forward to.
I think that's the one you're talking about, yeah. This is the first I've heard about this one, yeah.
Well, not all Guy Ritchie films are loved by the
Okay, so this is the new Stay the movie. Okay, this is one a couple of people have been talking about.
Yeah, and Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham together tend to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty much critic proof. That used to be a term we used quite often, but not so much anymore. But we will be losing Script Doctor here, so let's see. I know he had a few super chats. Let's jump to those. Get those just in case. Let's see here. Script Doctor's credits are protected due to patent confidential patient
confidentiality laws.
I knew what I meant. I mean, he is a doctor after all. This is true, Tennille. This is very true. and he just signed up to your, how do you say that in?
Well, he put all the accent thingies on it. That's like,
I know, with all that now,
much appreciated.
How would you say that with all that stuff, Andre?
Well, well, the A with the 2 dots over, that's and with everything else.
Patrioni.
Yeah. So it would be pa. I can tell that, and the rest I have no clue.
Okay.
We don't have those in any.
You were the only one who would know.
But I only know the first one there.
And I'm sure Script thanks you for that, Tennille. And he can do that himself.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the content on there. And at your tier, you do have access to ask me questions at any time. So I'm actually just about to post up the thing for that this weekend. So can't wait to
ask him where babies come from.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, we got this one here. Jesus Davila, thank you, 6. For cloning Script Doctor Fund, we need a few Script Doctors. That's a good idea.
There are a number of me around, but
No, like literally you, just you.
Yeah.
It would just be my biological makeup. Yeah.
And we'll call him Mini Script Doctor. He will work on short stories.
That's good. That's a good one.
Just little ones. Anyway, 6 is in the house. How you doing, 6? You said as a super chat here for $10. It says 1, spay neuter your pets. 2, call your mom. She loves you. 3, join Script Doctor's Patreon. She can do it because she's a mod, evidently, and even has the address there. So do check it out if you haven't checked out Script's Patreon yet. It's a good place to catch up with.
Yeah, in fact, I would love it because, again, one of my posts was on something that's completely outside of the normal tentpole Hollywood stuff that we've seen. And so I reviewed the pilot script to True Lies, and the episode dropped the other day. And I'd love to get my patrons and anyone who's interested in feedback because it's so outside of the normal IP bastardization aspects that you get with the bigger franchise. So, and it's by Matt Nix. So if you're a fan of Burn Notice and you like his style, that's very apparent in these shows. So would love to get all of your feedback on that.
And then Tennille also says, I put the accents on the side to sidestep Google censor. Oh, we knew. I was just trying to have fun to see how it would actually be pronounced with all the... That was just being a dork. Don't mind me. Yeah. And I think that's all the ones that are specifically for you, Script, but I think you got a couple minutes left, right?
I do have a couple minutes, yes.
Okay, so here's one you could probably answer. Where to go here? Here it is. Tom and panel. Who would be your dream director for a TMMT live action reboot? Can't thank you guys enough for all the hours you've entertained us all. Well, thank you, Final Smash 1689. And okay, my answer would be me. Script.
That's maybe get the stunt coordinator who did the John Wick stuff, like David Leitch or Chad Stahelski, because they know how to shoot the action and they're stunt guys. So you get good martial arts dudes and the cinematography to shoot that well. That would be good for the directing side. As for the writing part, that one would be trickier. Finding a good writer to really take advantage of that talent for TMNT will be a challenge, but not impossible.
Here's what you do. You take the original script and you do that.
Take the 1990s movie.
Yep.
And just watch it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
just shoot an audience watching it in 4K and release that.
That's it. No. Oh, crap. So yes, let's see here. Adam, who would you pick to direct?
I don't know, man. I think he kind of hit it out of the park there. Like you need a very good action director. I personally would like to see it more like the comic iteration where it's more violent, less aimed at like pizza and the kitty type of stuff. And I think that the John Wick type of mentality there. And I agree with you on the writing part. The problem is you'd have to find someone who's been like a good super fan, I think, of those original comics and wants to tell that story. Would that financially work? Probably not. But in my fantasy, I think that would be a good movie.
Yeah, you got to do it within budget and reason, and you got to remember who your real audience is.
Yeah. Something like this is maybe not the best example, but a TMNT kind of in the vein of like the first Deadpool movie. Just something a lot more, you can't believe that this is actually aimed at adults.
Or should I would go, and this is where Razor Fist will go, yes, or more in line with your first few seasons of Daredevil.
Ooh, yeah. Which would be appropriate because Ninja Turtles themselves are a parody of Daredevil. Yes. Okay, dude, you sold me. That's like right out of the park on that one.
With that, I'll hand it off to Andre. Yeah.
Yeah, that goes to what I was going to say. I would have Script Doctor write the script and come up with the story, but I would have Tom and Razor Fist as story consultants. And then I would have Stahelski and the rest of the John Wick guys direct it.
There you go. And Script, you were going to say something else, or is that it for that one?
No, I'm good.
There was one here that asked our go-to snack. Where'd it go? I think that was a good one for culture, or for Script Doctor. See, now I did it. We do that all the time. Jaeger, thank you so much for $1.99 says, what is your go-to movie theater snack drink? Well, mine is always popcorn and soda usually. So mine's easy. So Script, what's your?
I don't eat or drink when I go to a movie theater. All my senses are focused on the images before me.
Well, that shit's for the previews anyway, Script, because usually it's gone by then.
I usually eat beforehand or after when I go. If I'm watching something at home, I'll probably have like a bottle of water.
Yeah, I'm with you. I rarely do that. However, I do crave the popcorn. I rarely do it. But what I want, or what I used to do a lot when I was a kid, probably an unpopular answer, Raisinets. I used to do that a lot. I don't anymore, but that was a childhood answer.
No, Raisinets are good. I know lots of people that like Raisinets.
Yeah, I'd rather eat a chocolate-covered raisin than a regular raisin.
Yeah, and as for me, my favorite one is I can't name this because I don't know the name. Because like in Norway, you have like I'm sure you have that too. You have like these boxes with like various different kinds of like candy that you just pick and choose and mix yourself. And one of these that we have is basically it's like chocolate with peanuts, or rather, it's like peanuts which is surrounded by melted chocolate.
Yeah,
goobers. All of them are like fairly like
goobers,
organic. There's nothing else, just pure chocolate and peanuts. So it reminds a little bit about like Snickers, but without all of the other artificial crap in there, other than what comes naturally in chocolate. And every single one is like, every piece is unique because it's all just like a melted chocolate mixed with peanut, let it dry, put it in a box, and send it off.
Those are called goobers.
So
those are called goobers here.
Goobers, okay. Yeah, well, goobers then. That's my go-to. For
actually, I think the same company that makes Raisinets makes them.
Yeah, they just really cornered the movie theater market.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, I have the same problem with as Tom, that they're usually eaten up by the previews, and then all my focus and my senses are focused on the movie, like with Script.
Yeah, which is funny, because we use the "Let's all go to the lobby" thing for our A-rated B movie, and I never knew Script Doctor didn't snack during movies. But my mom used to sneak in stuff in her purse when we were kids, of course.
Oh, every parent did that.
She managed. She had her theater going purse, that we fit soda and candy and all that good stuff in. But yeah. All right, Script. How much more time you got left?
Unfortunately, I do have to bow out. But it's been a
much.
pleasure chatting with you all. And Adam, it's been wonderful to stream with you today.
It's been very nice meeting you.
Yeah. So for everyone out in the chat, thanks so much for your support. Stick around. There's still more show to be shown from these guys, and I'll catch you all later.
Take care, brother. Have a good one. And then we've got Mecha J here. Says, saw your guys' video on the writer for Ant-Man 3 ignoring the audience's criticisms. I knew he wrote for Rick and Morty, but I didn't know he also wrote for Jimmy Kimmel. That explains a lot. Or explains so much, sorry.
Yeah, and he's of course referring to the video that we posted earlier today. So everyone that hasn't seen it, please check it once this stream is finished, and like it and help share it, because Lord knows this platform ain't doing it. But yeah, like I think that video is fairly indicative of the new talent that Disney has got going for them, especially hiring all these people from Rick and Morty, of which there's right now there's 3 Rick and Morty writers working for Marvel, and not a single one of them has done anything good. On the contrary, you can argue that some of the worst stuff is theirs.
Yeah.
How much longer do you think Rick and Morty has? I mean, isn't the Justin Roiland thing and like, yeah.
Honestly, I think once whatever has been done prior to his canceling, once you realize the bridge has been crossed and the voice changes over and the scripts start to change, it's going to lose the audience.
So we're just going to get that one really bad season that everybody forgets, like the last season of like that 70s show or something like that, where it's just, oh, right, they had a completely different cast. Right?
Unless there's a way out of the contract, because I know they had this huge contract they had.
Yeah, wasn't it like episodes to get to 100 episodes, so it would be in syndication or something like that?
I think they're
I vaguely recall.
Now,
yeah, I vaguely recall that being the thing. They wanted to get to 100, but they committed to it after like a season. So I think I learned that from you guys, actually.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they're under this weird contract, and I have no idea if maybe they'll be able to get out of that, if it'll change anything. My guess is they'll limp along till they get to that 100 syndicated number and be done with it. Because at this point, I mean, I think a lot of the interest is it's already been deflated with all this stuff surrounding it. I mean, you already had enough issues before with the other guy that was also involved with the community show. What's his name?
Dan Harmon.
Dan Harmon, yeah, who's also part of the show, and you've had nothing but complaints come out of the female writers, which, you know, you can make the argument that was part of the problem to begin with, but doesn't matter now. The damage is done. The show's over with. Like, whatever appeal it has, I think it's been sullied or soured. I don't know. Andre, what's your take on?
I don't really have one. I don't have anything to add to what you said there. The appeal has been sullied, so yeah, now they just have to work around that. And first they have to get around to fixing why the appeal was sullied in the first place.
Well, it didn't help.
Be the real challenge.
It didn't help that and I hate saying it like this, because if you are a Rick and Morty fan, I don't mean anything personal by this, but the Rick and Morty fan base was kind of like the original toxic fan base of sorts. And I mean that in like quotations, right? Like they've got a bad reputation from all that McDonald's crap and everything else before, you know, like,
oh, I remember that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, it's already had this aura about it that I think that it's just going to kind of fade away into the background, and everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, that was a thing for a while.
That's probably a fair take. Yeah.
That's what happens with most thing in the end. It was a thing for a while.
It was a thing for a while. Then it went away. And it was like so super popular for that hot minute that's when I kind of knew this was going to be one of those things that was not meant to last.
Unfortunately, this was super popular in the eyes of Kevin Feige, who gave these dudes shots they never deserved and never should
bringing
have
it back around.
Absolutely. And now they're destroying Marvel.
Exactly. Then we got Darius Munchausen in the house. How are you doing, Darius? Good to see you, my friend. Sends us a super sticker. Let me see what it is. I bet I know what it is. It is a red box of popcorn. Speaking of movie theater snacks, and then thank you, Six, for reposting it. I appreciate that. We got Hero Light, who says, off topic. Any news of Mortal Kombat film, live action or animated? I think they should just stick with animated. They seem to do well in that department. Live action, not so much. Didn't they just do another animated feature, or it's coming? I thought I heard, but yeah, they're, as far as I know, they're still moving forward with some more.
Yeah, there came one a few months ago.
Yeah,
and I would have to do research. Like I wasn't. Yeah, I haven't done research on this in advance, but what they said before, when in conjunction with the previous Mortal Kombat movie, is that they were planning many more, One was announced. Remember, we did that announcement when it came that they were doing another movie. I haven't followed up on exactly where that is in the production, but at least one more should be coming. And I do believe that they were planning on doing much, much more than just one, because the Mortal Kombat movies is something that they can just produce relatively cheap and earn good money on. And I do believe that the animated movies have been fairly successful. The first one, Scorpion's Revenge, that was certainly a creative success. I mean, I would put that animated movie better than the live action remake. Or I would say it was better than the live action remake. I honestly just wish that the live action version had just used the script of the animated movie. It would have been so much better.
Or just the original script, not change the shit they did.
Oh, they could have changed a little bit, but
well, here's the thing: is for those who don't know what I'm talking about, real quick, I liked the Mortal Kombat reboot, but I agree that it had flaws, and I didn't like the main what's his name character. I don't remember his name.
No, not Scorpion.
Anyway, because in the original script, he did become Scorpion. And that makes a lot more sense. And there was a few other things that were a lot better. But then the guy who wrote Wonder Woman 84, I guess, did a rewrite, according to Script Doctor, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was something to that end.
And that's kind of probably what happened. So, yeah. They went from, like, I think, medallions to the whole tattoo thing of the logo and some other yeah, it was like, there were some other things they changed that just didn't make sense. But, no, as far as I know, they're full steam ahead on that. They got a new game coming pretty soon, too.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat Kombat 12 is coming fairly soon here. Adam, do you know anything about that?
Not really. Just that a lot of people have been wanting it. I know 11 was a big hit, and it's, I mean, you know, it's about time, basically.
Yeah, because Mortal Kombat 12 will certainly push the story even further after Mortal Kombat 11 changed it up. And I do believe that future Mortal Kombat movie and animated adaptations will look to those games for direction. But yeah, I don't have any more details. But I think there will be many more live action and animated Mortal Kombat.
The only thing I got to say on that basically is I think that looking back on it now after the reaction of the fans, I think they'd have been better off doing it as a series and not a movie. So I don't think people would have reacted the same way. I think they would have been more accepting of allowing them to build up to the tournament. Because that's everybody's number one gripe with the film, right? Is it's called Mortal Kombat and there's no freaking tournament in it. It's like, well, yeah, because we all know it's a build up to a trilogy, and why would they, you know, shoot their wad in the first movie then? But yeah. I was just saying I think it'd been more well received had it just been a series instead of movies. Ghost in the Photo has been a member for 7 months as a Midnighter. Thank you so much. Hillis Mallory says, thoughts of Ant-Man 3 will catch past Shang-Chi. I don't think it will. It might, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Wasn't Shang-Chi largely affected by the pandemic? Like its box office returns because of just
it was. So it would be very embarrassing if it didn't outpace it by a significant margin, because yes, Shang-Chi was affected by
Shang-Chi was negatively affected by that, but it also had the benefit of people still had hope in the MCU at that point. Yes. Ant-Man has more of the name, approval. People actually know what an Ant-Man is. They want to see it. But then we're at that point, as we discussed extensively earlier, who cares anymore? And
I think it will exceed it, because I had to look it up here because I don't remember it. But Shang-Chi did 432 million, and I do believe that Quantumania is going to pass that. It would be tremendously embarrassing if it didn't do that, because the worldwide gross for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, 432 million, while Quantumania is up to 300 something right now, so it has like 100 million to go. Yeah, it can do that. It'll pass Shang-Chi. Will it pass the other Ant-Man movies, though? That's a different matter.
It might not. I mean, it's at 369. You're right, Andre. So chances are it'll probably do it. Yeah. But the way it's been playing, and if it really takes a dump this weekend, it might be a taller order than you think for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
They might, and especially if they dump it on Disney Plus earlier or something like that. We'll have to see. Dark Winter says Creed 3 versus Creed versus Kang. I didn't notice that. Yeah, well, they were hoping to bank on that. Actually, they were kind of hoping that the Ant-Man was a bigger hit, so they could use the actor to promote the film more. That didn't work out so much for him. Rock Solid Production says Adam Koralik needs to shave the beard. Love you, bro.
That dude writes that comment on every video I make.
He doesn't like your beard.
No, he's a good guy. His name's Gary. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, I'm just picking him. Avinash Kala is here again. How are you doing, good friend? Personally, I just want fun movies which don't require me to learn the politics of another country just to understand it. In my honest opinion, like the old Marvel movies. Well, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah.
But he's right. I mean, Marvel became a phenomenon worldwide. And why? Because the movies released from Phase 1 up to the latter end of Phase 3 were just tremendously good stories with worldwide appeal. No matter where in the world you are, whether you are in Wisconsin or New York or Florida or Calcutta or Bombay or Islamabad or Sudan or Oslo or Berlin or anywhere else, Iron Man is a great movie. Same about Thor. Same with Guardians of the Galaxy. Same with Captain America. Same with Captain America Winter Soldier. All of those movies, they have universal appeal. They don't require you to know any kind of intricacies of the detailed politics of any given nation or anything like that, because they are just wonderful self-contained stories. They are modern mythological storytelling. It's as simple as that. They work everywhere, which is why the Marvel brand has exploded worldwide, everywhere. Everyone knows Marvel, and that is why. But then you get to Phase 4, then you get to the political thing. Now you have to have the forced diversity and inclusion, and you have like the gender theory, and you have CRT, everything, all of these things, they start to now suddenly appear on screen. And everyone who's like aware of this and in the States will instantly see what it is. But around the world, you don't necessarily know the details of wokeness and the woke takeover and what have you. All you see is that the Marvel movies you used to love, now you suddenly don't understand them anymore. Something has changed. There's something weird on screen. Like something just doesn't jive, and you don't know what, because you don't have the context for it. And that is a genuine concern. So, Avinash, that is a great point right there. The movies of Phase 4, they are simply not as translatable, not as universally appealing, because they are so hyper-partisan and political.
Well, you see the proof in the pudding with Black Panther, so.
Yeah.
Then we got Rover, who sends in 1999 and says the stories just need to be fun. Example, Lethal Weapon style buddy cop movies starring The Thing and the Hulk versus AIM. I think that sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah, he does, because AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, who's the leader of them, MODOK, the same character that they completely shit on and destroyed in Quantumania. And in so doing, they wasted him for going up against either Captain America or the Hulk or something like that in a separate movie.
Well, even wasted the opportunity of having really
brilliant movie or villain for a dedicated movie, just not the MODOK that we saw on screen, but the one from the comic.
Yeah, I was going to say, or even you could even go a little bit more of a comedic route with him in the Ant-Man universe. I know they tried to play him off for comic relief, but it sounds like it didn't turn out to.
No,
not for the reasons they don't get the meme.
So
that's the thing, right? But anyway, Andy, you sound like you were going to say something. I'm sorry, or Adam. I mean, sorry.
Oh no, I'm just listening.
Yeah, no, MODOK. He's like a villain that, because it's all in the execution, right? And MODOK is a villain that can be terrifying, compelling, and humorous. in different situations depending on what you choose to do with him.
Right. And I'm talking about like if you did like a Dr. Evil version of him, basically voiced by like Danny DeVito or something like that, where he's got this huge Napoleon complex, like he could have been the comic relief in this heavier Ant-Man story where he's dealing with, you know, the idea that he lost all these years with his daughter, right? And can I get those back? Well, that other story's going on and you have MODOK in the background happening that he's got to deal with. That would be where you can insert some of your comedy, because it sounds like what comedy got inserted didn't quite work so well.
No, they basically Jar Jar Binksed him.
That's what I was saying. It sounds like it's another point of Disney not getting the meme because they like, oh, they think they got a little hit with this whole MODOK thing because people are talking about it. It's like, you don't understand why they're talking about it, do you? They're talking about it because it looks so bad and it come off so cringe. Like, that's why they're talking about it. It's kind of like the whole thing they didn't get with Morbius and well, that was more Sony.
It's Morbin time, yeah.
Yeah, but also the other one was the she's getting her own show now, the Agatha. Well, that's what I was trying to think of.
My God,
like you guys didn't really get the meme. It's like people thought it was stupid. That's why they were making fun of it. It's like, you don't get it, do you?
Yeah. They basically made a whole series on the success of the viral song. It was Agatha all along. That one stupid song made them make a whole Disney Plus series that's going to blow up in their face and further destroy the Marvel brand. So yeah, good going.
Wait, that's real?
Yes. That's what I mean. They don't get the meme.
I thought that was a meme.
No, that's what I'm saying. Disney don't get the meme. They don't get it. I mean, I'll at least give Sony the one off on that one. It's like, you got us. Yeah, it's like, we're totally trolling you motherfuckers, right? Like, yeah, we dare you to release it again.
Yeah, that song was in the WandaVision series. If you have,
that I remember. I saw like a thing about I got the show. I thought that was just an extension of that. I didn't realize that was real.
No, it's an actual show they're doing.
Yeah,
and it's all predicated on the success, the perceived success of that. It was Agatha all along.
Yeah,
meme.
Okay.
So I'm saying they don't.
That tells you everything you need to know.
So Agatha, Coven of Chaos, or something like that is already filmed. It's coming, and Disney will be they'll regret it. Let's put it this way, because it'll just destroy the brand.
Yeah. Hyperguyver's in the house. How you doing? So saw the trailer for History of the World Part 2, and all I can say is Mel Brooks has been compromised. It looks like modern, unfunny, woke trash. Yeah, I don't know which one. If they got a new trailer out now, I saw the original trailer, and I saw it, and I'm like, this looks like drunk history on crack. And not only that, it defeats the purpose of the original film, because the whole joke at the end of the movie is that there clearly will not be a History of the World Part 2. Right? Like, it's just, I can't believe Mel signed off on this. I can't believe he'd be that hard up for money. But I have very low hopes for it. Have you seen this at all, Adam? Are you a fan of the original?
I had no idea this was a thing. The last thing I really remember out of him was that kind of failed Spaceballs series.
God, yeah.
I mean, is that just the point he's at? Like, how old is he?
Oh, it is in the 80s or 90s at this point. And well, I mean, he did have success with his couple of musicals, like The Producers and stuff like that. But like, outside of that, yeah.
Like I would have assumed he would have had legacy money at this point. I mean, is this literally just that? Is this just like, let me make a big paycheck and hand it to my descendants and I don't care anymore? Or do you think this is like he actually needed this?
I don't think that's the thing, is I can't imagine in a million years, because his wife was Anne Bancroft, right? She's gone. His son is successful, so he don't need anything, right? Like, I don't get it. He could probably just retire on residuals alone, just for Spaceballs video residuals.
Yeah,
from what I've heard. I mean, that's not counting everything else. Like, I don't understand why he thinks he would need this, so I don't get it. I really don't.
That, or he's just at a point where it's like legacy. I want not financial legacy, like product legacy. I just want more stuff with my name in it before I go, regardless of what it is. But that, I'm purely speculating, obviously. But you think maybe that's just a psychology factor to it?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess I'm more along the lines. I'm just pissed that I feel kind of spurned by him because I'm like, of all the movies that screamed a sequel, that you actually talked about a sequel that should have existed, was Spaceballs 2. And I thought it was genius when that guy, whoever it was, trolled the world by lining, I think it was New York subways with Spaceballs 3, the Search for Spaceballs 2 posters, because people actually thought we were getting the movie.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's ingenious. Like,
yeah, that would have been smart, man.
And now it's just getting too late because most of the cast is dead or so old you know?
Yeah.
Like,
who is still, Bill Pullman's still around? Obviously, John Candy.
That's it. And yeah, Bill Pullman, Mel, and what's her name?
Zoe Saldana. No,
Saldana. No, not Zoe Saldana.
Yeah,
but,
wow.
Her name starts with a Z.
Daphne Zuniga.
Or she's got a Z in her name. Yeah, Daphne Zuniga. Like, they're the only 3 that are pretty much left alive. Like, literally, the rest of the cast is almost past. Like, Dom DeLuise down to
Rick Moranis is still around. That would be an interesting
Rick Moranis
return
is the
for
only
him.
one. Otherwise, yeah, that would be neat. That would be neat. But he already gave Ghostbusters the shaft and chose to go with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reboot. So
yeah,
that I kind of was like, what are you thinking there, Rick? What the hell? Maybe he'll be in the next Ghostbusters movie. That'd be nice. Dear Juan is here though, and he says, "Hello, gentlemen, fellow. I think he means fellows. When does Midnight's Edge start streaming live on Rumble? I can't wait for you to be my first Rumble rant." Well, I know we could simulcast, right, Andre? We just need to figure out how to do all that.
Yeah, we should be able to, but I think it would be much more fun with like some Rumble exclusive streams talking about stuff we can't talk about on YouTube. So eventually there's going to be some Rumble exclusive videos and probably some Rumble exclusive streams as well. So give it a few weeks and we'll see what we can do here.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you're right, Captain. Maybe this is a producer scam in real life. Only it's going to be on Hulu, though, so it's not in theaters. But yeah, I don't know where it's going to be outside of the U.S. But Shadow Dancer, the Red Mage, says Q continuum, bleh. And the Omega Continuum, anti-Q from the novels, can fix all this confusion with one finger snap. Well, didn't they kill Q?
I do believe there are more Qs other than the
that's true.
We're talking Star Trek, because there are.
Yeah, they could. It'd be nice if this whole thing. That's would have been nice if the season started that way. That the whole thing was just Q. Shadow Dancer, the Red Mage, says, hasn't Zoe Gamora also priced herself out of the market of reprising Uhura? Not well. Maybe after this movie. It all depends on where their contract ends up, right? Like that's the thing. It was Paramount's fault for giving these guys these bigger contracts.
They were all priced out because of the contracts with Paramount. That's exactly right.
And my point is none of them have any incentive to take a less of a payday, except for maybe Zachary Quinto. And I'm not trying to be mean to him. I'm just saying he's the only one whose stock price really hasn't risen since Star Trek, right? That's part of that cast. Even Judge Dredd dude, I always forget his name, Carl Urban. He's even probably worth quite a bit more now than he was back in that time. So there's none of that cast that I could see them getting back, and would I blame them for not going, oh yeah, we'll take a pay cut, right? Like who would want to do that, especially fucking Chris Pine? Why should he?
He doesn't have to, as long as he has like a really solid career going elsewhere. The only times when you really want to do that is if your career has kind of like flatlined and you are back to that level, then that's when you take the pay cut.
I think I made this point. I don't know. Did I make this on Mead last night or did I make this on Mr. H? I can't remember. I said I could understand, seeing it from a point of view of Pine and the rest of the cast taking a pay cut. Had this been like their own like original IP, they started together, and sure, it's not like $1 billion franchise, but like I could see them maybe going, yeah, I could take a pay cut to be a part of this next one because I want to do it for the movie because of my passion for it. This is not that. It's fucking Star Trek. It's a big corporation. It's arguably one of their biggest franchises outside of Mission Impossible and SpongeBob, right? So like there's no excuse or reason why Pine should budge. I don't blame him.
Hit the nail on the head.
So moving on.
Yeah. And then on that note, David March says Pine, by the sounds of it, could take a lower price for a piece of the back end of the production credit. But here's the thing, though, David, he's not guaranteed any back end. And that's kind of what I think is he was hinting at with the whole thing with, and this is what I'm getting at. Why would he want to chance that? The last movie lost money. So they'll never see any back end if there was any back end deals.
Exactly. None of them are getting any residuals or anything like that from any of those movies because they're not profitable enough.
Maybe the first one.
But it's nice with the back end if the movie actually is profitable enough that you're going to get one. But between Hollywood accounting and and the brand damage, there might not be any back end.
Yeah, technically the second and third movie lost money.
Yeah. And production credit, if the movie is a creative failure, or a failure in any way, you're better off without the production credit.
And I mean, I don't know how much the first movie made, but yeah, as far as I know by the math of it all, even though the second movie made more money at the box office, it cost more, so it technically lost money, and we know
exactly. The first movie is the only one that was reasonably successful and that actually left everything on a good footing going forward. But then after the first movie, their catastrophic mistake was waiting 4 years for the next one, losing all the momentum. And when it got going, they went with like a 9/11 conspiracy / truther story. Big.
I was going to say, now that you just said that, you're just reminding me. We're getting to a point where we're getting to a bigger gap than there probably was the last since he started playing Kirk in 2009, we're going to get to a point where there's a bigger gap between that and now than there was between the last time Shatner played Kirk and when he played Kirk for the first time. You get what I'm saying? Kind of like the Jason.
Yeah, well, we're not there yet because
not yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
And if they actually pull this Star Trek 4 off the ground, that's what I'm getting at, is that'll be the case, because it's been 6 years since that. And it's been since 2009 since the first time he played him. 2000, what was it? The second one? 14? No.
2013.
13. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. There's so much space in between these. This is not even a viable franchise, really, if you think about it. Like,
well, the first like thing to compare to is that Star Trek Nemesis, which is 2002.
Yeah.
And then it was 2009. So in between the last of the original series and the reboot were 7 years.
That's
we
a
are
good point
fast
to go off.
approaching 7 years since Beyond.
That's a better comparison going off to Jason 1 I was talking about. Yeah.
1 year to go. I mean, if you want to go all the way back to Picard, then we have to go back to like 94, 95 generations. Sorry, to Shatner.
You're right. That's a better comparison. Because what I was talking about is in our Jason video we did, 3-4 years ago, we had pointed out that there's more time period now since the remake than there was between Jason Goes to Hell and that remake. But yeah.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, the single biggest gap between Friday the 13th movies there has ever been is the one between the remake and now. That's the
we're fastly approaching that same kind of situation with Star Trek, and you're right. The better would be between Nemesis and the remake and the reboot. So yeah, we're this is that means they have not had any Star Trek movies whatsoever in theaters, period. Hands down. So yeah. John Thomas says, I walked out of the first Jar Jar Trek movie and called it what it was, an abomination. Haven't watched anything since. Yeah, I know a lot of diehard Trek fans who feel the same way about that film, and I don't blame you. I didn't hate it. I went in expecting to hate it, but I also accepted it for what it was because it was technically in an alternate universe. That's how I got my head around it. Jesus Davila says, or he gifted, 1 Midnight's Edge membership. Thank you so much, Jesus. We appreciate that. Then we got Nikolai Volkov here who says, what do students of Hogwarts do when they leave school? Is that touched upon in the books? I'm not sure on the books aspect of the movie, but doing it in a movie or a TV show would be interesting.
I have never read a Harry Potter book. And
Same here, sorry.
Adam, how about you?
Adam, how about you?
Jeez, I think I read the first one when I was in like middle school, but no, other than that, I have not.
Well, outside of that play, then no, not really, I guess.
Maybe I'm overanalyzing this question, but do you mean like when they leave school for the day? Like what is campus life?
I think he
No, I
means
think they
when
mean
they
after
graduate.
So the
once they graduate, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, what's the future career opportunities for the graduates of Hogwarts?
Working at Azkaban. I mean, the universe they've shown us, at least again based on the movies, seems kind of confined and constrained to just a few different things. I mean, like look at Ron Weasley's parents. They just kind of like he works in like a random store, and like it doesn't seem like there's magic plays that much of a role like in what your actual day-to-day job is, unless you literally work for like the Ministry of Magic. Am I wrong in that assessment? Like anybody out there who's read the books, like tell us. Like I don't know.
I think you're right.
Is there professional Quidditch? Is that a thing?
I'm just basing on movies because again, I'm too old to have read Harry Potter. I was of an age when they came out that children's books no longer appealed to me, and that kind of like magic wizardry has never appealed to me. So I've never read them. But based on the movies, and I've seen a few of those until I got fed up and didn't care to watch the rest. It looks like you have great career opportunities in that world where Hogwarts resides, between the train tracks or wherever. But you can do various magical stuff right there. But good luck getting a job at the City of London or something.
Yeah, the chat actually has a lot of answers on this, which is kind of interesting. Dragon Research, Muggle World. Mr. Weasley apparently worked for the Ministry. My apologies on that.
And Six also has a ton of answers behind the scenes here. He says, Kidditch player, Obliviator, Wandmaker, Healer, Magisuologist, Ordered, Dragon Keeper, Muggle Relations, Goblin Liaison. See, there's plenty.
Okay, apparently the fans got it. They got it figured out. I apologize.
There you go. Rowling obviously thought this through. And then moving on, my countryman Perilous Plains says for 100 Norwegian krona, Star Trek The Voyage Home was out November 26th, 1986. The Bounty and Georgie and Gracie. Yeah, that was a great movie. I love that movie.
Dude, that movie is fascinating. Like, if you were to pitch that movie, it's like it does every single thing wrong on paper, yet turns out to be this amazing film. Debatably the best Star Trek movie. How? It's so bizarre. Like, just try to explain that movie. Like, we're going to do this story about time travel to, like, help whales, and they're, the Star Trek, they're just going to walk around modern San Francisco. It's just a weird idea that somehow totally works.
That could have been Superman for the Quest for Peace so easily. But somehow, they made it work. Even like that. But they do it because they do it. It works because it's tongue in cheek. And they point out the ridiculousness of it. Like, I love that scene you just described where Kirk even says, okay, things are looking up. We're walking the streets of San Francisco looking for a pair of humpback whales. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah,
you laugh and smile because of it.
I agree. It's an amazing movie that has no right to be as good as it is. But
it's just a feel-good movie.
Yep.
And then Accident Seller says for 59 Norwegian krona, tusen takk. Are shields not working in the nebula? Referring to the cliffhanger, presumably of Picard. I don't know. I'd have to re-watch it with detail. I mean, of that technical stuff of when shields work and don't work. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not that kind of nerd.
Yeah, I refer you to the chat. I wish I could help, but sorry, that's a little bit above my my Trekkie grades. Adam, you were saying?
No, I was just saying they got me stumped too. I got nothing on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry, cannot help with.
I know their sensors are all out of whack, but no, I think their shields are still working, but it still went through their shields.
Yeah, but like the shields aren't. The shields only do so much. Whenever something fires, the shields limits the damage, but it doesn't stop it completely. I mean, without the shields, they would have been blown to smithereens many times over. So I guess the shields are just like slightly less efficient. I guess. We'll look up for it for next time. And then, and then we have STR Red Wolf, who says for $5, reminds me of a local restaurant, Abbey Burger in Baltimore. Get your bison burgers, your alligator, your ostrich, your Kobe beef, good times.
I might try the Kobe or the ostrich, but I got this rule about not eating things that could eat me or kill me.
I mean, you know, you don't have to hunt it yourself, right?
Right. No. It's just this thing. Like, I'd never eat shark. I'd never eat alligator. I'm kind of leery about snake for the very reason that they could, you know, like things that we're kind of like either natural prey of or very susceptible to. I don't want to tempt fate.
I'd be wary of snakes because they apparently, some of them have a ton of parasites. If you eat them, you'll get those parasites. You really don't want them.
Yeah, see, and then there's that aspect of it too. I'm not even a fan really of like gamey meat anyway, so like I doubt I'd like a lot of oddball. I'm a very burgers and steak, chicken wings kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough.
Fried chicken kind of guy, pizza and stuff. And I know I love to be adventurous. I mean, bison. Yeah, actually, I'd probably try bison since it's basically just like a cow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
like that's different, right? Like that's a little different. But like I said, alligator, shark, things like that. You know, somebody offered me tiger, unless I was starving, I'd be like, nope, I don't need that karma.
Yeah, I'd rather not have. I'd rather not have anything that's under threat of extinction.
Or bear or anything like that. Like I'm saying, basically anything that could eat me, right? Like that's my point. Like I don't want to tempt that karma. But yeah, of course, there's also the protected classes thing. I'm not I mean, the only reason I mean, really, I know this will make Six happy, is like the only reason I'm not a vegetarian is because I love meat. Right.
You don't say.
That sounds stupid because no, I really do hate the treatment of animals the way it bothers me. I don't like that kind of shit, but you know what? It's a natural part of life. It's, you know, it's just what it is. Right. So I accept it, but yeah.
The simple reality is for you to function, a life form must die. It's just how it is. Unless you eat table salt exclusively, which is the only non.
Yeah, even if you're a vegetarian, that's technically true.
Then you will die pretty quickly.
Yeah, all I said was a life form. A life form will always die for you to survive unless you exclusively eat table salt, and no one does.
Yeah. But Matthias Fredrickson says, Tom Louv from Stockholm. He wants me to do the okay. Work. Tom Louv from Stockholm. Work. You been on fire.
They work.
Work.
Oh, there's so much Swedish here today.
Yes, a lot of Swedish. Doug 1985 says, "Hello everyone. I'm here to remind y'all that Avatar 2 came out last year and it made over $2 billion, just in case everyone forgot." Yes, indeed. It did. Most of its money overseas.
Only goes to show, never bet against James Cameron. And I still think it's funny how a movie made $2 billion and I do not know a single person in my area or among my circle of like friends in real life that actually saw it. Not one person.
Same here.
I did see it, and I think we talked about this briefly. Like there is a quote in there where one of the characters says, "The way of water is to have no beginning and no end." I feel that perfectly describes the film.
I'll tell you, the way of water is whichever way the tide is going, really.
So basically, it goes on and on and on and never stops.
It's
for a film.
It's like CGI glory shots of like, look, I made a space whale, and it's like 3 hours of this, and I'm just like, this has no story that didn't already exist in
So it's
Pocahontas
basically like
2.
a porn with nothing but money shots.
If you're into whales,
I guess.
So kind of like the whaley sequence in Disney's Fantasia from 1940.
Oh, Fantasia?
I love how he just said Fantasia.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, that's how I read it. That's like
no, you're good.
I've never actually heard it being pronounced.
I cannot recommend Avatar 2 in a nutshell there. It's the only element to it that I enjoyed was, I will admit, it's the only time I've kind of, my brain accepted CGI as real, which is a feat to be sure, but it's all in service of Pocahontas 2. It's just not interesting as a narrative.
Well, a lot of people liked it, so I can't take that away from them. And
$2 billion worth of people. I agree.
Supposedly outside of the U.S., I know that.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Andre's outside of the U.S. and he doesn't know anybody. I don't either. I still have yet to have met somebody in my actual walking life, or whatever you want to call it, non-social media life, that has actually seen it. So
I agree, and I haven't encountered. You guys ever see Dogma, the Kevin Smith movie?
Oh yeah,
There's this line about how serendipity, would give people inspiration, except for Home Alone, because they made a deal with Satan to get the gross up on that shit. I kind of feel like Avatar was a similar situation. Like nobody seems to know this movie, yet it's the highest grossing film ever, and you can't find anybody who has seen it. It's what is the deal there? There's something in that.
Oh shit, I love that. That was a good callback. That's pretty good. I'm responsible for 9 out of the 10 highest grossing films of all time. Only 9? Well, you know that movie with the kid and I had nothing to do with that piece of shit.
Somebody sold their soul to Satan to get the grosses up on that piece of shit.
Yep. Oh, I had nothing to do with that. Yeah, somebody sold their soul to Satan to get the grosses up on that piece of shit. That's what she says. God, why should I care what Kevin Smith thinks? God damn it. Mega J says, so you guys think Bad Robot is losing their grip on Hollywood? Oh, yes. Yeah, they're pretty much cornered now. To areas where people aren't smart enough to realize that what they are at this point.
They have like one Stephen King adaptation coming or something, but like all their major contracts expired. All their big money-winning projects gone. Yeah, they're exposed.
Yeah, they're pretty much persona non grata everywhere, but I think they got an Apple deal that's still hanging on.
Yes,
for dear life.
So they have like enough that they'll be hanging on, exactly as you say, but they're not gonna be the power players that they once were.
Do they even have anything to do with Mission Impossible anymore?
He may be like locked into that, because the only thing is that just like with Constantine, the part 2, they'll have like a contractual thing in there, some marquee credit, some money passing their way. I would not be surprised if there's like some Mission Impossible connection and some other deals like that for other stuff that they used to be attached to, where they have like where they will get to get the marquee.
I don't see him on here now.
Go away. But
Andre, I don't see them as listed as a production company or J.J. Abrams listed as any of the producers.
Where?
On Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Only Skydance and TC Productions.
Well, it could be that it's Skydance, in which case Bad Robot may not have anything to do with it. If they
might, their license may have maybe up with them, maybe on one of the last ones. Because I was gonna say, I don't think their name was attached to them anymore. Last I knew. There you go. Maybe not. All right, moving on. Bad reboot is out of Hollywood, kids. Paulus Plain says Star Trek 5, The Voyage Home, a well-written, feel-good, non-woke film glory. Yeah, and actually, this is a movie that I will recommend to people who have never seen Star Trek before. This is a good gateway film because you don't really have to be familiar with the Star Trek-isms to get the movie. You can kind of just look at it as for people from the future who need a whale to save Earth.
Yeah. I love the beginning of that. How he just so casually is like, we're going to go through time by going around the sun. All right. Why not?
I love the time travel special effect. That was brilliant.
Yeah. The early CGI shit. No, but just overall, the story works. It's simple. It's a clever little plot. Like, I love the scene where they're like hearing the noises from the probe and they're trying to figure it out. And then they think about it. And I think it was Spock who realizes, oh shit. And then he has them calculated for underwater and they realize it's the sound of humpback whales, and they're like, oh, we need some whales. All right. Because we don't have any more. Yeah, it's pretty simple. It works. There be whales. Big Daddy MRI is in the house. How you doing, sir? He says, Andre, Tom, and the panel appreciate all you do and the great discussions. Thanks to Six for producing. Thanks to the mods, and hail to the great chat. Well, thank you, Big Daddy. And then he also adds, Midnight's Edge in the Morning is truly a world-class show. Be safe. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate that. And I can't think of a better way of wrapping things up on this Friday. I want to thank Adam, of course, and Culture was here earlier, and so was Script, and who else was here? Paul.
Thanks for having me, man.
No, I think that was the entire panel. Yeah, Adam, was great to have you back again.
Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Well,
it's always weird for me because you guys are like the news source. You guys are like, this is your wheelhouse, and I sit here kind of like the little kid, like looking up, being like, oh, how do I compete? So I appreciate that I get to be part of it.
No, I love when you're on because we have a very similar sense of humor, so it works well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, next week we actually have some guests coming. I know Wednesday for sure we have a guest coming, and Friday for that matter. So stay tuned, kids. Do we have anybody set for Monday though, Andre? Other than Chris, I don't think so. But
yes. I don't think so. No.
So Chris on Monday, and then we'll let you know who the guests are next week. I'm keeping it under my little lid. So with that, Andre, anything to plug, Adam, for your channel or anything going on for you?
So I put out a new video today on my main channel. Today is the 6th anniversary of the Nintendo Switch, so we did a whole thing talking about that. My travel channel, I got a bunch of videos coming up I went to Tinian, which was the island that we used in World War II to take off and drop the bombs on Japan. So I went to the actual bomb pits. There's a bunch of crazy stuff over there. Tinian, Saipan, U.S. territories that nobody ever goes to. So I did a whole bunch of videos on that. Japan, as he just pointed out earlier, I just went back from Germany. So I got a video coming up on that. On the main channel, though, I also have, my usual video game stuff, controller reviews, things like that. Stuff that, niche nerds like to enjoy. So hopefully you guys will check it out.
Cuckoo. Then Stephanie, cool. Stephanie sends in her member chat and says, I made venison you'd guys like. Maybe. I'm not a big fan of venison. You'd have to do some magic. That shit, because I've even had people mix venison with like beef and stuff, and I can still notice.
I'll have it.
Oh, I'm sure Andre would.
Oh yeah.
I like free food. I'm game.
That's part of my problem is I'm just not a fan of the gamey taste. It's just a thing with me. I don't know. Maybe I'm too bougie.
No, to each their own, man.
Yeah,
I find the people that use the word bougie are the least bougie.
Oh, I'm pretty fucking bougie. I need a Japanese toilet.
You missed like half that chat like before, man.
I know. Well, I was trying to keep up with it, but like, yeah.
The thing is, it's funny because for us, it seems like this cool novelty. I don't like it for reasons I said before. It feels like you're sitting on a toilet that was just occupied by a sweaty guy. I do like the bidet, but it's also, there's no simple flush. It's like they have a calculator on the side and you have no idea. Like there have been times I have been defeated by a toilet in Japan where I just don't know how to flush the damn thing.
See, now I'm envious because I've never even been on one. So there you go.
They're not bad, but it's funny from their perspective. It's just a sanitary issue. If you keep the chair or the toilet seat warm, it kills bacteria, and you use less toilet paper. You clean yourself more properly. They think that we're kind of gross for the idea that we're just like, yeah, I'll go to a public place and sit on a toilet, put my bare ass on something that some stranger was just on 5 minutes ago. What do I care? And I kind of see their point. So you should get a Japanese toilet.
Yes. I love the
get this thing that you can't even flush by your own admittance. If I had to choose between the two, I think I'll go with an outhouse. But hey,
all right, I'm gonna tell you a little story of one time where I really screwed this up when I was in Japan. So I went to this little train station, went to use the bathroom, and then afterwards I realized I could not find which one was the flush. I had no idea, and so I just kind of pushed one, and in doing so, all of a sudden an alarm went off because it turns out what I had pushed was the woman getting attacked alarm, and boy did I get an angry little Japanese cop dude like run right out there, and I'm just repeatedly being like, "Oh, gomenasai, gomenasai." The guy does not acknowledge me at all. He just looks. You can see he's just saying "baka gaijin," which means "stupid foreigner" in his mind. You could just see it, and he was just undid the alarm and walked away because there was clearly no woman anywhere. And I was just like, "Yep, I was defeated by a Japanese toilet on more than one occasion."
See,
did we read this one?
Like outhouse.
Yeah, outhouses are very, they don't rely on any electricity. I think I could figure out how to shit in one.
That's kind of like what I mean. That's like problem with like smart houses, smart this, smart that. Make it dumb because then you can keep it under control.
Yep.
Did we get this one from Paulus Plane when I stepped away, Andre, or is this one we missed?
No, we did not.
Says, when I go to the cinema, I like chocolate, beer, and liquor. No American butter popcorn. What is it with you guys and no butter?
It's that we use chemical butter.
Yeah, we have salt on our popcorn. Problem solved.
Well, they also use
That's dry as hell, though, man.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not dry.
How can you not have at least real butter anyway? I mean, real butter is amazing on everything.
Yeah, like I remember like the first time I came to America and I tried the American popcorn, I was like, what the hell is this wet, sulky, buttery stuff? Why is it not dry and salty like I'm used to?
Well, that's the answer.
I'm with the Europeans on this. I don't like American liquid butter on popcorn.
It was nice knowing you, Adam. But anyhow,
I know we've had our fun. It's been an experience.
I can only put up with one person who's against butter on this panel.
I like butter. I don't like the chemical liquid butter.
No, I agree.
I don't want soggy popcorn. That's all.
No, I'm not a fan of not a huge fan of it, but it's tolerable. But I prefer real butter. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But with that.
Yeah, with that, I would say this, though. I'd never even bring our salty popcorn into the cinemas. To me, like, popcorn is not something I eat, and maybe if we had the buttery version, maybe I would. So it's probably just as well that we don't. But, yeah, with that, Adam, thanks for joining us today.
Yes.
It's a blast to have you on, as always.
Thanks for having me.
And check out the channel for all of our panelists. The link is in the description. Remember to smash that like on the way out the door. If you haven't seen the video we posted earlier today, check it out and like and help share that too. And with that, it is time for some koalas.
Hold up. You just got a last minute super chat.
Did we? Good job.
Yeah. It just
You're hired. This is for you, Andre.
Yeah, well, you give it a try, Tom.
Tom, no. Andre, Utedas.
Yeah, Utedas. That's a outhouse.
Well, you can have your popcorn in the outhouse because that's where it belongs without butter on it, sir.
with the liquid butter, it feels like something that was in the outhouse.
Well,
we're talking about $2.
You can actually throw that in an outhouse, whereas your fancy Japanese toilet would be completely destroyed if you throw that in there. So yeah.
See, yes, we're talking about two different things, though. See, I'm not talking about that oil shit that is butter substitute that you get at most theaters. I'm talking about actual make me fat as fuck butter.
So you just take like a tub of actual butter and like almost deep fry it at that point?
Yes. And then you put some popcorn in it.
That is the most Wisconsin thing I've ever heard. Congrats.
You just pour that shit all over to where the ratio is that butter looks glazed.
I mean, hey, why not? Go for it. You don't need your heart. Why not?
Pornhub is like taking pictures of it, man. Like, yeah,
where
exactly.
It's just leaking. Okay.
Yeah, just dripping. No, I'm just kidding. I don't like it that bad. No, but nice fried up butter.
And that is how you make a Japanese toilet scream for mercy afterwards.
Yeah, you put an American on it that eats that shit.
We got to make more money before I can afford a Japanese toilet on the train. Because I ain't getting one till I own my own house. Because that sucker's coming with me.
Something else that's coming with you are the koalas
in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain, koalas
Darius Munchausen says, delicious golden topping trademark. Yes, thank you so much, Darius.